Hey Froggy friends, Kirostyle here. Welcome to Ace Attorney Investigations Collection. Thank you so much for joining me here on stream. Welcome in, everyone. Kieran, congratulations on being first. Timbit, welcome in. Ash, it's good to see you. Psycho Reaper, thank you so much for the sub. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for 24 months. That's 2 years. I really appreciate it. Thank you for following along and supporting me. Thank you. Scarlet, welcome. And Danger Gel, hello. Hope you guys are all doing well today, and first, let me start by, let's all welcome Danger Gel, and congratulations and thank you for joining our moderation team. I really appreciate it. I asked Danger if he wanted to be part of our moderation team here, and he graciously accepted, so I'm very grateful. Thank you, Danger. You've been awesome. Hope you guys are doing well. This game just came out today. And I'm really excited because I really like these games. I've played them before, but I'm really excited to share them with people that have not played them before, especially because the first game came out in 2009 for Nintendo DS, and it was localized. But the second game came out on the DS in 2011, and it was never localized. It was Japanese only for the longest time. There was a fan translation, but most people have not played the second game. And I think the second game is the best game in the entire Ace Attorney series, except for the Great Ace Attorney games. But outside of the Great Ace Attorney games, that I think Ace Attorney Investigations 2 is the best game. So, and for the longest time, I've had no one to talk about that game with. So hopefully now, more people can get exposed to it. I want to talk a little bit about these games before we get going. So what are these games really? Well, they're a spin-off series from the regular Ace Attorney series, and basically, originally they wanted to do some kind of investigation game, and they wanted to do something outside the courtroom, and they were going to make it an Emma Skye spin-off. So Emma Skye is the character introduced in the first Phoenix Wright game in Rise from the Ashes, and she's basically a forensic scientist. So they were going to do this investigation game where you play as Emma and use forensic science, which was really exciting to me. But they decided to change the main character and not use Emma, and instead use Edgeworth, because Edgeworth is more popular than Emma, right? And they didn't really want, even though he's a prosecutor, they didn't want to make just another courtroom game where you play as a prosecutor, because they figured that'd be too close to basically the main series. So that's why they did this Investigations spin-off. Now this game came out between Apollo Justice and Dual Destinies, but it takes place between Trials and Tribulations and Apollo Justice. Development time was longer because they had to use like a different engine and everything because the gameplay is different. Now, when the game first came out in 2009, on the DS, there was actually a demo for the game. And there were two ways to play the demo. One, you could download it to your Wii, and then use your Wii to transfer it to your Nintendo DS. Or you could just play the demo on their website. And the website was basically like a Flash game version of the demo, which covers half of the first case. And I played the demo, and to be honest, I wasn't impressed. And we'll talk about that when we play through the first case of this game. I was not impressed by the demo. I thought it was kind of silly and redundant. So already my impressions of the game were kind of low because I didn't really enjoy the demo. At the time, I wasn't really an Edgeworth or a Gumshoe fan. I like Edgeworth and Gumshoe, but that's mostly because of Ace Attorney Investigations 1 and 2. Original Ace Attorney trilogy, I didn't really think much of Edgeworth and Gumshoe. So I wasn't really excited, especially because I liked Emma, and then they decided not to use her as the main character, and then the demo wasn't good. So I wasn't impressed with this game when it first came out. So I bought the game, and then I just didn't play it, because back then, if you want to buy physical copies of games, you kind of, especially niche games, you need to kind of buy them early, otherwise they sell out, and then it's really hard to get a copy unless you get it off a reseller, right? So I got it, and then I didn't really play it. I think I put it on my shelf for like a year, and I didn't really play it. And then, about a year later, me and my family went on a trip to Asia, and I needed something to play over the flight. So I took my DS and I just kind of grabbed whatever games I had, and I was like, oh, I haven't played Ace Attorney Investigations, so I guess I'll play this. And then so I played it on the plane, and once I got past the first case, I was hooked. I was like, I need to find out more about this game and play it. It's actually really fun. And so I played through the rest of the game while I was on that trip, mostly on the airplane and the flight back. And I was like, dang, I let this game sit on my shelf for like a year and I didn't play it. And I've been missing out. So I played the game, it was great. Again, I still think it's one of the best games in the series. I think Ace Attorney Investigations 2 is amazing. So that was kind of the end of that story, or that segment. Hey Angora, welcome to the stream. Hey Kisa, welcome in. So, second game comes out, 2011. It's not officially localized, and fans are asking them to localize it. They're kind of wishy-washy at the beginning. They're like, well, maybe we'll do it, but Ace Attorney's not selling well, and, you know, we won't say no, but we don't foresee us doing it. And they kind of led fans on for a couple of years, and they were kind of like, oh, we might, but we're not looking to do it, and then eventually turned into, well, we're actually not going to do it at all. So fans eventually made their own fan translation. Now, at the time, you know, I liked Ace Attorney Investigations 1, but I wasn't, like, enthralled enough to be like, oh, I really need to play Ace Attorney Investigations 2, right? So I was just like, well, we didn't get it. Oh well. So, you know, I went ahead and I played, you know, the rest of the games as they came out. Dual Destiny, Spirit of Justice. And then, like, way further down the line, like, this is, like, the late 2010s. I don't know why, but one day I just really felt like finding out more about the Great Ace Attorney. And this was before Great Ace Attorney was localized as well, right? And that game also didn't really interest me upon release. I didn't really, even though it never got localized, I didn't really care that much. Which is really funny, because now it's like one of my favorite games of all time. So eventually I caved, and I watched, because I guess I was really bored, and I watched a playthrough of the fan-translated Great Ace Attorney 1 and 2 on YouTube. No commentary playthrough. And at first I was a bit hesitant because, you know, these games are quite lengthy, and if you're watching a no commentary playthrough, right, obviously they have to let all the text scroll on the screen. The episodes get pretty lengthy. Because if you're playing on your own, right, when you read through the text, you click, 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 you kind of skim read it, because you can click ahead once you're done reading the sentence. When you're watching a no commentary Let's Play, you have to wait for the whole thing to play out. So I thought it would be a pain in the ass to watch, but it was so good, right? The story in Great Ace Attorney 1 and 2 was so enthralling that I was hooked. And then once I finished it, I felt empty. I was like, that was really good. Why have I left it for so long? I need more. I need something more, and I didn't know where to get more. And then I was like, well, I never played Ace Attorney Investigations 2, and that's probably not going to get localized. I guess I'll watch a playthrough of that. So I watched a playthrough of that one, again, no commentary, fan translated on YouTube. And it was so good! Like, the story was, again, I think it's the best Ace Attorney game outside of the Great Ace Attorney games. The music was fantastic, and it made me like Edgeworth and Gumshoe even more, and I was like, among the other characters, of course. And I was like, oh dang. But the problem is, I had no one to talk to about this game. No one I know had played Ace Attorney Investigations 2, because it wasn't officially translated. So I was like, gosh, so I've been sitting on this game for so long, and then we finally got Great Ace Attorney localized, and I was like, it's a matter of time before we get Edgeworth 1 and 2, right? And lo and behold, we finally get this game. Now, what I was not expecting was for this game to come out so soon, because Apollo Trilogy just came out this year in January, end of January. So I thought they would at least wait another year before they released Edgeworth 1 and 2. But no, they just released this today, and they only announced this game like 2 months ago. So I was like, whoa. Like, if you guys are following Kieran's playthroughs, right? He's playing Apollo Justice Trilogy, hasn't finished it yet, because he takes his time, of course, and suddenly this game is out, and he's conflicted about whether he finishes Apollo Trilogy or he plays Investigations, right? Now the thing is, when this game was announced 2 months ago, like, I always told myself if they announced Edgeworth 1 and 2, I would want to stream Ace Attorney Original Trilogy for you guys so you can get caught up if you've never played the games before, because Investigations 1 and 2 have a lot of cameos of characters from the original trilogy, which I think is one of the funnest parts. You get to see familiar characters. But because they only announced this game 2 months ago, I just didn't have time to play through Ace Attorney 1, 2, and 3 for you guys on stream. Unfortunately, because, you know, I was gone for my trip for 3 weeks, we had to finish up the other games we had on stream, I took a little bit of a break during summer to get back into drawing, so I figured, you know what? We could stream Ace Attorney Investigations 1 and 2 without playing the trilogy. I think most people that I would anticipate watching this video have probably played Trilogy or have passing knowledge of Trilogy. If not, I will inform you about the references here and there, but it's not super important. I think it would have been nice if I at least played through the first game on stream for you guys, because Ace Attorney Investigations 2 has a lot of links to the first Ace Attorney game, but again, I'll just explain it as we go. In the future, I would like to stream original Trilogy, but just very time-consuming. Hey Aru, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for stopping by. It's good to see ya. What else did I want to say? I made a bunch of notes of things I want to say before we started the stream today. One of the things I really like about these games is that all the cases within each game, Ace Attorney Investigations and Ace Attorney Investigations 2, all the cases are interlinked together, which is something you don't really see in the mainline Ace Attorney games, which is also one of the reasons why I love Great Ace Attorney, because the cases are interlinked. Again, the music is great, the cameos of the other characters are fun. We'll have a good time. We'll have a good time. Also today, I believe, Persona 3 Reload: The Answer got released today, and we still haven't finished Persona 3 Reload on stream because I've just been bombarded with all these new games, and I thought I'd be able to play The Answer on time, but that's okay. I prefer to play this over The Answer anyways. I just thought that was worth noting. Okay, I think that's all I want to mention before we get going. Yeah, okay, let's get going. So also, if you pre-order this game, it comes with 5 rearranged soundtrack themes that you can use in the game, which is pretty cool. So we're not going to go through the gallery now, but I just want to open it so you guys can see what it looks like. So you have to unlock pieces of it as you go. There's the music collection, there's documentation, there's character artwork and stuff, the achievements as well. Hey Fate, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for stopping by. Options, I'm not going to change any of the options right now. What I do want to highlight is you can choose between like the new sprites or like the original pixel sprites, which I think is really charming. We're going to stick to the HD ones, but I think it's just kind of cool that they have that. Okay, of course, we're going to start with the first game. Episode 1. Turnabout Visitor. Everything old is new. Episode 1. Turnabout Visitor. March 14th, 1:16 a.m. Unknown location. To make sure the defendant is found guilty, what other choice do I have? That's the job of a prosecutor, after all. That may be true, but why? Why go this far? Sorry, maybe I wasn't clear enough, but a guilty verdict is all that matters to me. No matter what the cost. I'm a prodigy among prosecutors. Always have been, always will be. March 14th, 2:05 a.m. Prosecutor's Building. 12th floor hallway. Hey, it's Pi Day! 3.14. Also, let me know if the music is a good volume, if you can hear it, or if I need to turn it up a little bit. It's hard to believe I've been away from my office for a whole month. I hope Detective Gumshoe has been keeping an eye on my office and keeping it clean. The door's unlocked. Detective Gumshoe. What's this smell? It's very familiar. Blood. Look at his little surprised face. Volume's good? Excellent, thank you guys. What the? What's the meaning of this? Freeze. Identify yourself. Shut up. You got some nerve committing murder in a prosecutor's office. Is that a threat? Let me make one thing very clear. What? No one gets away with committing murder in my office. No one. My name is Miles Edgeworth, and I work as a prosecutor in my local district. Little did I know that upon my return home after a month abroad, I would be thrusted into a multitude of cases. It's a very frantic and busy days. March 14th, 2:56 a.m. High Prosecutor's Offices, room 1202. I finished photographing the victim's body, sir. Very well. Please continue your investigation. Yes, sir. Look at him dusting. He looks so cute. Ah! Mr. Edgeworth, sir! Are you okay, sir? Keep it down, detective. This is a crime scene. When I heard that a murder had taken place in your office, I ran here straight away. This is Dick Gumshoe. He is a detective with the local precinct, and the one they assigned to handle this murder case for the time being. You're looking a little pale, sir. Are you hurt? No, I'm perfectly fine. However... Oh, look what they did to your office! It's totally trashed! I'll say. The culprits sullied my floor with dirt rather well. No one gets away with tracking mud into my office. Whoa, sounds like you're getting really burned up over this whole thing. This crime was committed in my office, so it is my responsibility to solve it. Oh, that's just like you, Mr. Edgeworth. Okay, time to do some investigating. Agreed. Our first course of action is to gather relevant facts and leads. We must not overlook anything, no matter how small, if we are to find the truth. So I'll keep any leads or information we find etched in the forefront of my mind. Speaking of things that pique my curiosity, why of all places did the murder occur in my office? I get the nagging feeling that this is something important to keep in mind. Yeah, I was wondering that myself, sir. I mean, you can't really say it's just a coincidence, can you? No, not really. Especially because of this. The key to your office? What do you mean, sir? If you think about it carefully and use logic, it should become clear to you. Logic? By finding the connection between two pieces of information and connecting them, new information is born. That is the end result of using logic. I like how he's explaining to Gumshoe how to use logic. Yeah, brain blast time! So how do you use this logic? First, I recall the information we gathered with L, and then I connect them together with X. his smug face. Now, to use L and recall the facts. What should I connect together? Crime scene, my office. The office key. Doing things my way. Okay, now, so when they first revealed this game, you know, the original Ace Attorney trilogy, right, you have Phoenix, and his ability is like the Cyclops with the Magatama, right? Which I've never been a fan of the Cyclops. And then we have Apollo Justice, who has his, like, bracelet, which tells him when someone is lying on the stand. Both abilities kind of supernatural in some way, right? Even though they explain them. So when they release this game, they're like, oh, we need to give Edgeworth a power. Edgeworth uses logic. And then everyone was making fun of it because they were like, oh, Phoenix gets like magical spirit medium powers and Apollo gets magical lie detector powers. Edgeworth, he just has logic. Like, I think as we play through this game, you'll see the mechanic is actually pretty cool. But during the tutorial case, it seems really trivial. Again, when we finish this first episode, I'm going to talk about why I was not impressed with the demo when the demo came out, because why I played the demo of the game and then I let it sit on my shelf for a year before I finally played it and realized why it was good. I'll talk about that when we finish Turnabout Visitor, but there's a few very specific reasons. Hey Yami, welcome to the stream. For security reasons, all prosecutors' doors are outfitted with locks, which means it would have been hard for the murderer and the victim to get in here. Ergo, it's impossible to dismiss the location of this crime as mere coincidence. Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking, sir. There must be a reason why someone infiltrated my room. What was the killer after? You're really on the balls today, Mr. Edgeworth. That's some beautiful logic, sir. Yes, well, when you follow leads to their conclusion, only the truth remains. However, if the information doesn't line up properly, I may stray far from the truth as well. So it's funny because it's like, in the Ace Attorney games, usually you have a health bar because if you say something wrong, right, the judge loses his confidence in you, so you lose credibility. But in this game, because there's no judge, it's like Edgeworth just gives himself psychic damage every time he makes a mistake in his mind. But if I think carefully before piecing leads together, the logic should flow. Well, let's get started with our investigation, shall we? Yes, sir. Yeah, exactly. He just hurts his own ego. The basis of any good investigation is to examine everything, sir. I know that. When I want to examine something, I simply use A when I'm next to it. Oh, if you ever feel lost and want to talk, just use X, okay? I'll give you great, precise advice as an ace investigator, sir. Something to try later if I have free time, I suppose. Or we could just try it now. You called, sir? Is there anything you noticed that you'd like to share, Detective Gumshoe? Just that I rushed over here as soon as I heard there was a murder in your office, sir. The investigation's just gotten started, so I guess there's not much else to say. So, were you the one that found the body, Mr. Edgeworth? Unfortunately, upon my return, I found my office door to be unlocked. What awaited me inside was this whole messy affair. Ouch, that's rough. Even though I left the security of this room to a certain detective. Oh, sorry, sir. I assume you understand how to conduct investigations, Detective Gumshoe. I would hope so, that's his job. Of course, sir. Examine anything and everything with A. By checking various things out, we can gather all sorts of evidence and information. You can see the evidence we collected with R. For information and leads, it's L. That's it! Great job, sir. Deductive reasonable is the way to go. It's called deductive reasoning, detective. Clearly something you lack. Yeah, the time's almost 3 a.m., so you just imagine Gumshoe being the, oh boy, 3 a.m. We finished photographing the body, so it should be alright to examine this area. I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny. Let's see here. There's blood all over his lower abdominal area. Looks like the bullet passed clean through his stomach area, sir. In other words, he was shot. Yep, and until the autopsy's done, I don't think we'll know much more than that. Please have the body sent to the morgue once they're done processing the crime scene. Are you gonna be okay with keeping track of all the evidence we find, sir? Of course. This is the safest way I know to keep track of it all. Alright, if you say so. I keep all the evidence I find either in or with my organizer. When I want to re-examine a piece, I have but to press R to open my organizer. But the organizer isn't only for evidence. I keep people's profiles on hand in it too. It's probably a good idea to make a habit of checking the facts often. I know like this particular pose of his is like carry over from the original Ace Attorney games, but he looks so stupidly smug here. Which is the point, but it's just so funny. I don't believe it. I packed those files on those shelves so tight. And not even an earthquake can make them fall out, but just look at them. At this rate, the rest of the files won't be able to withstand an earthquake at all. A problem to be sure. Well, once the investigation's over, we'll put them back up on the shelf. Your files are all over the floor, sir. They probably fell during the struggle between the victim and his killer. Oh, and I tried so hard to keep this place spotless while you're away. I mean, this just rendered all the time and effort I put in pointless. I don't recall ever asking you to clean my room. Well, I water the flowers every day, just like you requested, sir. I just added cleaning to the list as a weekend special. For about half a day every Saturday, I'd come in and clean this place until it sparkled. Does he have a life? Oh, Gumshoe. Edgeworth, at least be grateful to him, man. What do we have here? Hey, I think I've seen one of these before. It's a police badge, detective. Oh, hey, I have the exact same thing, actually. What a coinky-dink. Let's take a look inside. Mr. Buddy Faith. It would appear that our victim was a detective, just like you. Guessing that's all they want me to look at. There's nothing of interest here. Okay. I'm glad they give you the little check mark that shows that you've already investigated it. You know, like in the old OG Ace Attorney games, if you played them on the DS, it was like it didn't give you that. So sometimes you just examine the same thing over and over again because you weren't sure if like a specific spot was different than the rest. Ouch, they even knocked over your chess set. I had it all set up ready for when you got back. I figured we could play a few games. I had no idea you were interested in chess. I'm actually pretty good at checkers, so I thought I'd give chess a try. In that case, I suppose I can set some time aside after we solve this case. Though I don't expect the games to tax my mental acuity much. What have we here? Could this perhaps be the murder weapon? If so, it would mean that the killer made their escape after disposing of their gun here. I think I've seen one of these before. Care to enlighten me as to where? Oh, I know! I was issued the exact same model! I think. Detective. I don't really like guns all that much. I mean, they're really dangerous. Now that I think about it, you do see this model around the precinct a lot, sir. I don't use mine much except in emergencies, so that's why I didn't recognize it. So it's the same type of revolver as the ones used by this precinct's detectives. I seem to have gathered a few pieces of pertinent information, and to calmly use some logic and figure out if any of them are connected to each other. Victim was a detective. According to his badge and ID, Buddy Faith was a precinct detective. Gora, thank you so much for the sleeveless redeem and for summoning Kirby. Revolver, found at the crime scene. It's the same model as those used by precinct detectives. The revolver, the standard model used by detectives, could have belonged to our recently departed. Detective Gumshoe, could you please thoroughly check the victim's body one more time? Yes, sir, on it now, sir. Excuse me, pal, let's see. What have we got here? Mr. Edgeworth, sir, this guy's wearing a gun holster. So it appears our killer somehow managed to take the victim's gun from him. Let's see what else we can find out about this revolver. As I always say, you've got to look really carefully at each piece of evidence. You can use R to rotate an object. There's no such thing as a bad angle. Use L and R to zoom in and get at the nitty-gritty. It looks like only one round was fired from this. Wow, so the killer killed the Vic with just one shot after wresting the gun from him. Sounds like the guy knew how to handle a gun, huh? Mr. Edgeworth? We have no proof for now, but that is a distinct possibility. I guess this is about all we're going to find out. We should send the body to, Jim! I have to talk about this later. Why, oh why? How could this have happened to a guy like you? Are you alright? Don't touch me! Leave me alone! Just let me be! Sorry, but I can't do that. The investigation is still ongoing, so please refrain from touching the body. The body? The body? Don't talk about him like he's just some lump of flesh! Look at him. Jim looks like he's just turned in for the night. Oh, sure, just in a bloodstained suit, pal. Where are my manners? Aren't you that prosecutor? Why, yes I am! I'm Jacques Portsman, prosecutor. Of course, his name is Jock Sportsman. Apparently, he's actually modeled after a Capcom employee who likes basketball. Jim here was my partner in crime busting. I'm Miles Edgeworth, and like you, I am also a prosecutor. Detective Dick Gumshoe, sir. So you're Miles Edgeworth. I guess this is your office. Yes, that is correct. Then it was you! You're the one who killed Jim! Hey, don't go around jumping to conclusions, pal. Just calm down, okay? I'll not! I know how things work around here. High prosecutor's office doors all have locks built into them. And only the owner of the office has the key to his or her own office door. That is correct. However, I was not the one who killed your partner. Yeah, Mr. Edgeworth has been overseas on a business trip this whole time, pal. And the key to the door was with me the entire time, okay? So the only one who can get in here was me! Wait, that means... I'm not sure what that means. So it was you then! You're Jim's killer! No way, pal, you got it all wrong. Everyone calm down. Mr. Portsman, correct. If you're a real prosecutor, you should know how to stay collected. The investigation has only just begun. Isn't it too easy to be drawing conclusions? Alright, I get the point. You're right, my mistake. I tend to get a little too hot-headed sometimes. You sure are one cool customer, though, Mr. Edgeworth. I've heard all the rumors about you. You're the great genius prosecutor. You're something of a legend, you know? Anyway, let's call a truce and work together, okay? Now, how about a handshake to seal the deal? And a pleasure to work with you. You guys were conducting your investigation, right? Sorry for barging in like that. Carry on then. It's your room after all. Thank you. I intend to. I just want a little more time to say goodbye to Jim. You there. Sir. You shouldn't do that. You're wearing gloves for a reason, sir, and now you've touched his hand. I want you to capture the scene on film for me. My final farewell to my partner, Jim. I should probably give them some space. Okay, so the other week, me and some friends watched a movie called Fateful Findings. It's a movie by a guy named Neil Breen, and it's regarded as one of the worst movies of all time. Like, you know, like Tommy Wiseau, The Room? Well, this movie makes Tommy Wiseau's The Room look like a masterpiece. So we watched this movie, Fateful Findings, and I've already heard about this movie before, but I haven't watched it before. And the only reason why I know about it is because there's a famous clip from this movie that was going around on YouTube that people were laughing at. And in the clip, like, a woman kills a guy, and his name's Jim, and then she tries to frame it as a suicide. Not very convincing, I might add. The acting is horrible. So then Neil Breen, the guy that made the movie, comes in. He plays the main character. So he comes in and he goes, Jim! Jim! What happened to you, Jim? And then he goes over to the body and he starts, like, holding it. And he gets, like, all this blood all over himself. Very fake-looking blood, too. And then he just goes, Jim! Jim! What happened, Jim? Jim, it's so unlike you! Jim, I can't help you out of this one, Jim. Like, it's just so funny because the acting is just so bad. And the delivery's so stilted, and it just looks so silly. So that every time I see, like, in like a show or a movie, and there's a guy named Jim that happens to die, it's just so funny because it's like, Jim! That's all I think about. Jim! I can't get you out of this one, Jim. Yeah, it's one of those, like, it's so bad. I'm not sure if it's so bad it's good. It's definitely, it's fun to watch with a group of friends. You do not want to sit down and watch it by yourself. You'll be bored out of your mind, but if you can sit down with some friends and just laugh at it, it's hilarious. Anyways, that's why I laughed when he came in and said Jim. Do you have anything to report? Sir, yes, sir. Nothing out of the ordinary right now, sir. Yet, there's something out of the ordinary right in front of my eyes. Talk about a contradiction. Something out of the ordinary, huh? I should look around a bit more. Hope we can solve this case quickly. I'd like to return to relaxing on the sofa. That thing looks a billion times softer than my mattress at home. Can I sit on it too? Just for a little while, sir. Detective Gumshoe. You know I can't allow that. Until this case is solved, neither of us has time to spare, let alone rest. You're right, sir. I'm gonna work hard and be a real trooper to the end. Even once this case is over, I don't think he can afford to take any time off. Is this yet another batch of fresh flowers? The ones that come with a card attached every month like clockwork for you? Yep. Speaking of that, let's see what the card on this month. Let's see what's on the card this month, sir. All will be resolved. Wendy. Oh, Miss Irony, how painful are thy thorns. Wendy, isn't that the name of that old lady with the whiny voice that That's enough, detective. You need not remind me further. Ugh. Of course, that's a reference to our favorite character, Wendy Oldbag, from the first Ace Attorney game and the second game, and technically in the third game too. Well, it's a good thing my Steel Samurai doll was spared any harm. Speaking of which, I still haven't actually sat down and watched any of that show. What's it about again? Well, I don't know much about it myself, but the hero of the Steel Samurai, warrior of Neo Old Tokyo, is the Steel Samurai, and his goal is to defeat the evil magistrate. It's a show geared towards kids. However, its high production values and riveting plot draws in a number of adults as well. Spin-offs like Pink Princess, Warrior of Little Old Tokyo, and The Nickel Samurai, along with the deluge of merchandise and even a new stage show, gives it presence. You sure know a lot. Are you sure you're not some sort of rabid fanboy? Of course not. Anyone that keeps up with society knows at least this much. And that conversation lasted longer than expected. Let us return to the investigation. I love Edgeworth's trait about being a Steel Samurai fanboy. Oh, it's your trophy, the Knight of Prosecutors, right? King of Prosecutors. It's not a trophy, it's a shield. They only send this to the winning prosecutor, right? Yes, but I have no real interest in the perceived worth of other people. As for my own worth, that is something only I can determine for myself. That's so slick, sir! I'm gonna have to try saying that sometime. Unfortunately for him, his monetary worth is tied directly to his worth to me. Ah, watch out for the teacup fragments there, sir! That killer is going to pay. This tea set. X, you're really mad over this. Look at Gumshoe's little pose. This tea set is very dear to my heart. It can only be bought in England. It costs more than your whole month's paycheck. What? Now I feel like the killer's wasted one of my monthly paychecks. How's it coming along? Please, I need absolute silence. This picture is too important to mess up. I'll leave the man to his art. It's been a while since I sat at this desk. Oh, how I've missed you. It's so tidy, it looks newer than when I first bought it. Oh yeah, that thing's so polished, it makes mirrors jealous. Tell me you had no other work the entire time I was away, detective. My job is to protect your office, sir. And you did such a good job protecting it that a murder occurred in it. That's harsh, sir. I have to admit, the desk has never looked better, so I guess I can't dock his pay. Mr. Portsman, a word if I may. Jim, I swear I'll find your killer and bring them to justice. You wait and see. It'll be for the both of us. Now then, you want to talk to me about something? No, that's alright. I feel like I'm interrupting their conversation. Okay, now let's examine this. Oh, your jacket, sir! What's it doing on the floor? It must have fallen off the wall when the killer tried to threaten me by firing a round. But the killer not only shot the victim, but they shot your jacket as well? They dared to shoot the ultra special jacket that you made your prosecutorial debut in? What if they shot through it? It would have been a disaster. It's not worth getting worked up over, detective. When there's something more here. Or not when there's something more here. Huh? Like what? I take it you haven't noticed it yet, detective. There's a giant contradiction right here in front of us. Really? Did I say contradiction? Oh, he must be rubbing off on me. I'm starting to sound like him. I have my own methods, and I will conduct this investigation my way. When the scene before me contradicts a piece of evidence or seems off, that's when my deductive skills come into play. First, I have to find the spot that holds the contradiction. Yeah, Edgeworth's smug face is just so funny, right? This jacket sure brings back memories. I remember you used to wear this around the time you became a certified prosecutor. It was a present from my mentor. Prosecutor Manfred von Karma, huh? Yes. I don't wear it anymore, yet I can't bring myself to throw it away. It must mean a lot to you, even with the little bittersweet memories it holds. Oh, but you know, I got an old coat of mine hanging up in my room too, sir. Yesterday was laundry day, so it's just drying off. But you get the picture. And this is it. This bullet hole is where the contradiction lies. When I spot something that's off, I should point my cursor at it and press X with conviction. When I found sufficient proof to prove the contradiction, I present it. This is how I do things. Oh, yeah. Present. Eureka! Eureka! That's another thing people were making fun of Edgeworth for when this game first came out, because, you know, they needed to give him another, like, special speech bubble for his special talent, right? Because, like, Apollo Justice has, like, gotcha, right, when he does his. But then it's like, what do we give Edgeworth? I know. Eureka! It's a little different in the Japanese version, but in the English version, I think that's probably the best word they could have picked, but it just sounds so silly. Yeah, his special, quote-unquote, talent. Eureka! He says it so, like, intensely, too. This bullet hole's the contradiction. What do you mean, sir? It's elementary. 2 shots were fired in this room. The first felled the victim, and the second felled this frame. Hey, that's right! However, this gun was only fired once. Hey, that's true too! Which means that one of these 2 bullets was fired from a different gun. Did the killer have another gun prepared for tonight? By the way, I noticed something, sir. Yes? What's that thing sticking out from behind the frame? Now that, it's a secret safe. A secret safe? Oh, I smell money. I'll spare us the trouble and just say it. Nothing like what you're imagining is inside. Now, you can kindly move this frame out of the way. Roger that. Achoo! Achoo! Talk about dusty. I suppose that's what happens when I'm not here to dust it once in a while. I had no idea there was a safe here. I have kept it clean for you, sir. So why did you put this thing in? It wasn't something I had installed personally. Every prosecutor's office has one. Really? I had no idea. Well, only prosecutors are supposed to have knowledge of their existence. So what's inside, Mr. Edgeworth? Right now, nothing. We only use them to store especially important evidence when a trial's in session. That's it! Talk about squashing my hopes and dreams. I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny. Now this is odd. You found something, sir. This keypad. Don't you find it to be a bit too clean? Yeah, there's a thick layer of dust all around it, but not on the keypad itself. You there, forensic scientist. Yes, sir. Could you please dust this area for fingerprints? You got it, sir. I couldn't find, let alone lift, a single print. Looks like it was wiped down well. As I thought. It appears that logic is the only way around this setback. Time to rationally and calmly connect the dots with information we have. It's so funny whenever he's like, it's time to use our logic. Killer's goal. Wiped fingerprints. I believe I figured out what the murder was after. Well, what is it, sir? The fact the safe was wiped clean of fingerprints suggests the criminal had at least attempted to open my safe, making the culprit's motive for breaking and entering theft, I believe. I wonder if knowing that the motive behind this break-in was theft changes what the other pieces of information can tell me about this crime. So again, like, because this is a tutorial, right, they don't give us as many pieces, so it looks a little bit silly at times. There is a possibility that the files splayed on the floor are not the result of a struggle between the victim and his killer. Oh, you mean like it could be from when the killer tried to find something, sir? Precisely. We need to figure out if any of the files have been stolen. Yes, sir. I'm gonna shelve files like you've never seen before, even out of the library. Sure. Let's give that a try. Why do all the good ones always die young? Jim! Jim! I can't help you out of this one, Jim. Surely you must ponder that every once in a while, Mr. Edgeworth. No matter how much we lament, the dead will not come back to life. All we can do is search for the truth. And? So what are we supposed to do? How do we go about finding the truth? First, we calmly restore the files to their rightful place. You got it! Here, let me help. So this file goes here, and that book goes there. You sure know a lot about where the things go, despite it being Mr. Edgeworth's office. Because I'm the one who keeps it tidy, pal. Okay, done. It would appear the murder was definitely committed here. The bloodstains on the bookshelf are still fresh. I suspect the victim was killed in a standing position, hence the prints on the shelf. Then the guy fell onto the floor, right? The blood on the floor is kind of grossing me out. Detective, I don't have the time to deal with your weak stomach right now. But you know I'm no good with blood, sir. I'm certain there's something wrong with this picture. The victim's handprints. He must have tried to support himself with his hands here after being shot. There are prints on the floor, too. Those must have been made when, unable to stay standing, he dropped to the floor. I put them all back, just as they should be, sir. Doesn't look like anything's missing. Although it does look like the killer moved the body to flip through my shelves. I wonder if they found what they were looking for. Let's do this first. The killer moved the body because it was leaning against the bookshelf. The blood on this guy's pants proves that pretty well. In a sense, I suppose. See, I'm not completely useless, Mr. Edgeworth. It appears the victim was in a sitting position here after being shot. Oh, so that's why the seat of the victim's pants have blood on it. That would be the logical conclusion. Yeah, congratulations, Gumshoe, you used some logic. So this is where the bullet lodged itself after it went through the victim, huh? Well, the bullet to be lodged so squarely in a file's spine indicates that the files were ransacked after the shooting had occurred. And I guess the victim was moved because he was in the killer's way. Is this spot somehow connected to any of the evidence I hold? There's clearly a contradiction here with this bullet hole. What do you mean, sir? Oh, I think I need to gather something else first. No, okay, never mind. I was like, maybe do I need to gather something else first? No. You don't see? Quite simply, the bullet hole is too low. If the victim was shot in the stomach, the hole should be much higher up. What if the guy was shot when he was sitting or lying down, sir? That would be illogical. The victim leaned against the shelf after being shot, which suggests he was standing when he was shot. Then that means... Wait, what does that mean, sir? It means you need to use your brain every once in a while instead of mine, detective. In any case, it means someone made a faulty assumption. It was from this mistake that our current contradiction was born. What is the faulty assumption that caused this problem with the bullet hole's position? The order of the files. I believe the order of the files is a bit off. You mean I put them back in the wrong order just now? Hey, actually, I think the labels on the files are wrong, sir. Oh? Yeah! You see here how the files that were shot begin with the number O? Or 0? The number O. Number 0? What are those doing all the way down there after 1, 2, and 3? That's really weird. Actually, the way they're organized now is the correct order. They're exactly as I see them in my mind's eye. But the numbers are all out of order. Those white binders are special, so they're arranged a little differently. But from this, we know the files were not in this order when the crime occurred. Ha! So that's it. I believe the killer made the same incorrect assumption as you did, detective. Let's rearrange the files in numerical order and see what we find out. Do you think it'd be okay to prop the body back up to how it was before it was moved? They finished processing the crime scene, so I don't see why it wouldn't be. If you please, Detective Gumshoe. As I suspected, the bullet hole is now where it should logically be. The killer went through my files first before shooting Mr. Faith. And then put the files back in numerical order, I guess. Exactly, and then proceed to shoot the victim. Why would someone kill a man and then look through your files one more time? Puzzling indeed. The files were thrown into disarray twice. Once before and once after the crime, but why? Now the crime scene is as it was at the time of the murder. Time to give it another look. There must be some reason as to why the victim's body was moved. There's no time to ponder that now. Let us continue with our investigation, Detective. Roger that, sir. I'm raring to go. As I suspected, the bullet hole is now where it should logically be. And we figured out the killer went through your bookshelf twice. Indeed. There are many things the killer did that don't make sense. To figure out what the whys, we need more information. These handprints belong to the victim, right? They make sense with the body position. Yes, he must have left them there when he was trying to support himself after he was shot. However, the final position of the body shows that it was moved. I need to go over this crime scene with a fine-tooth comb one more time. This... What is that? Why does it say gumshoe on there in blood? I'd say that's some incredibly incriminating evidence. Indeed. Indicative of criminal activity indeed. No, wait! There's gotta be some mistake! Mr. Edgeworth, sir! Help me! Say something, sir! It appears that one of my files was stolen. Is that all, sir? What about me and my situation? Is this what the killer was really after? It looks like Jim was able to leave us the name of his killer in the end. And this most important message managed to reach us. I'm telling you, it wasn't me. You can't be terribly pleased to hear that your beloved partner is the guilty party. If you're going to accuse Detective Gumshoe of being the culprit, I sincerely hope you have some proof to back it up. Jim's words, they're more than enough, wouldn't you say? That's how you want to play it. Then at least allow me to understand your reasoning. You got it. I don't like this one bit. There's something strange about this man's attitude. And there must be some sort of flaw to his logic waiting for me to dig out. Mr. Edgeworth, what are you gonna do? What I always do in court. I'm going to cross-examine him. One way or another, I'll expose the flaw in his logic with this technique. Oh, how do you do that? Can you explain it to me, sir? Might as well. Alright, first I listen to the witness's testimony. Then I find a flaw in that testimony, something that contradicts the evidence. I open my organizer with R and present the piece of contradictory evidence. To present something, I simply use X, but that's old news. It's not like there's gonna be a flaw in their testimony every time, right? Correct. And at those times, I need to press the witness with L. Sometimes by pressing, I can draw out new information and new or modified testimony. I think I get it, sir. I'll be sure to try this technique out during investigations too. Very well. I'll even show you how it's done. Now watch carefully. Detective Gumshoe, you stole Jim's gun from him and shot him dead. Furthermore, you messed up the files to make it look like you committed theft instead. That's when you moved Jim's body that was sitting in front of the bookshelf. But thanks to that, you didn't notice the bloody letters his body was hiding. And it'll be by his final words that you will be brought to justice. You intend to argue the victim's dying message points to his killer. I can hear Jim's voice, and he's calling for his killer's arrest. Huh. Are you sure you're not mishearing his words, Mr. Portsman? There's no way Detective Gumshoe is the culprit here. Hey Draco, welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping by, it's good to see you. I'll find the flaw in this man's logic and expose it with credible evidence. Okay, let's press everything just to get all our dialogue.
Hold it!
Give him that L. You know, there's something I've been meaning to ask. What is it? Why do you call the victim Jim? And clearly his name is Buddy Faith. Isn't it obvious? I watched Fateful Findings and I really like that scene. Jim is the perfect name for my companion. Jacques and Jim. Don't those two names go together like peanut butter and jelly? But Jim isn't even close to the guy's real name. Well, Jacques and Buddy just sounds off somehow. Besides, he was the third of a bunch of guys I decided to nickname Jim. Huh. He talks about the victim like he was his pet.
Hold it!
You really think it was necessary to dishevel my shelves twice to do that? That's true. Okay, then maybe his real intent was theft. Hey, are you accusing me of stealing something from Mr. Edgeworth? It's a possibility. Maybe your salary's been cut so much that life is getting a little too rough to handle. I'll have you know I eat 3 square meals every day, pal. Okay, so all 3 of them happen to be instant noodles, but... Poor thing, what an evil prosecutor you're paired up with. What a motive, no? Jacques and Jim went up the hill to get murdered and wait. Yeah, clearly Gumshoe stole the file so he could eat it. He was just very hungry, right?
Hold it!
Why would Detective Gumshoe do such a thing? Because the body was getting in his way. He had to mess up your bookshelf somehow, right? Anyway.
Hold it!
Why do you think the killer didn't notice the bloody letters? The body was covering it quite well, wouldn't you say? That's how he missed it. But judging by what I've seen, it doesn't take much for your detective to miss something. Where do you think you are? You know nothing about me, pal. There's a lot a person can understand about another from first impressions alone. Can't say I disagree with him on that point. Why don't you say something, sir? Not you too, Mr. Edgeworth. Despite his lack of attention to detail, I don't believe the detective to be the culprit. Nobody could have overlooked the bloody letters, and I can prove it with evidence. I couldn't ask for a better setup. The game-finishing spike.
Hold it!
Yeah, Gumshoe needed that fiber, right? From eating the paper. Are you saying that those letters were intended for you? Yep, Jim was an outstanding detective. I'd expect no less from my former partner. Looks like Mr. Portsman still doesn't understand. He has yet to figure out the true meaning behind the bloody letters. What are you sputtering over there? Can't you just admit my logic's perfectly sound? Actually, there's a gigantic flaw in his logic. A gap so wide even the good detective can spot it. Now to clue Mr. Portsman in by presenting him with some evidence.
Objection!
I got an achievement. Perhaps you're not aware, Mr. Portsman, but there's a serious flaw in your logic. Huh, bring a bit of the courtroom into this, I see. No problem, I'm game. I can't help but find it odd. Excuse me? Odd that a fellow prosecutor would be brought down by the power of his own office. What are you talking about? Oh, you're joking. I get it. Ha ha ha. If you have time to laugh, you have time to take another closer look at this. Do you still not see? If not, may I direct your attention to the missing file? What? That's impossible! What's impossible, Mr. Portsman? Nothing. The files on that shelf are all about a certain case. When the killer went to take the file after murdering your partner, I highly doubt they could have missed the bloody letters written on the spines.
Objection!
It's possible they could have taken the file before committing the murder. I think it's pretty obvious the file was stolen after it was written on. The missing letters in the detective's name where the file should be is proof. Yeah, I mean, the S is gone and there's only half an H. If Detective Gumshoe really was the culprit of this case, I highly doubt that even he could overlook his own name written in blood on the files. Especially as a detective who can't stand the sight of blood. Gumshoe just looks so dejected. Ugh! Which means, what exactly? What does that make this dying message? It makes it the work of a criminal intent on tampering with the crime scene. That's so low, I can't believe the criminal tried to pin this whole thing on me, sir. I'm gonna get him, sir. You'll see, I'm gonna have them under arrest in no time. Well, Mr. Portsman. Brilliant, absolutely splendid. Logic deserving of Olympic gold. I appreciate the praise, but it doesn't change the fact that your reasoning is flawed. You win some, you lose some. That's how life goes. Glad everyone's so cheery, even though I feel more dead than alive. But you know, it really is a shame. I really didn't want to have to bring this up. However... What is it this time? Are you still after me, pal? Humor me for a second. Who has the key to this office? That'll be me. But Mr. Edgeworth just proved I'm innocent, pal. That's absolutely right, and I acknowledge your innocence. Why do I sense you still have something to say? Okay, can you stop, like, flashing me with your jacket? Well, I was thinking, did you know there's one other person with a key to this office? One other person. Hey, you there! Yes, sir. What is it, sir? Would you kindly fetch and escort that lovely young lady here for me? A lady? The girl's a member of this building's security. Think of her as a material witness. Security? Did you say security? No, stop it, pal! Don't! What's wrong with him all of a sudden? I believe she needs no introduction. I've called upon Miss Maggie Bird, a member of security. Detective Gumshoe, sir?
Maggie!
Miss Bird is the security guard on watch tonight. I see. And your point is? My point is that she could very well have used it. And by it, I mean the master key, which can open all the office doors in this building.
What?
If you're not the guilty party, Detective Gumshoe, then the only other person with access to this room is Miss Bird. How dare you! I would never sneak into someone's room.
That's right, I refuse to believe that Maggie's the culprit, pal. It was me! That's right, I did it!
Can we take that as a confession, Detective?
Well, it wasn't really me, but it definitely wasn't Maggie, pal. So yeah, it was me. If it was, you'd have no problems with that, right?
Please refrain from flying off the handle, Detective. There's no need for such theatrics. Listen to your boss, Detective. He understands what I'm saying here. That girl is the only one who could have committed the crime. For one simple reason. So, if you've never played the original Ace Attorney games, Maggie is a character that appears in the second and the third games. And she's kind of depicted as Gumshoe's canonical love interest. And I guess her major personality trait is just, she has really bad luck. And she has problems holding on to a job. So every time she gets a job, she usually ends up getting in a murder case somehow. And then she gets fired from said job and then gets another job for the next time that we see her. Poor girl. It's pretty obvious that Miss Bird snuck into your room using the master key. I mean, if Detective Gumshoe isn't the one who opened the door, then that leaves only Miss Bird as our prime suspect. On top of which, she knows our good detective, doesn't she? Making it all the more probable that she was the one who faked the dying message. So you're saying she used the master key? Incredibly incriminating evidence, wouldn't you say? That's what you claimed about the evidence earlier as well. That was then, this is now. The flow of a good match always changes during a rally. It's all about your reflexes and reaction time, especially for an athlete like me. I wonder if there was anyone else other than Miss Bird who could have used the master key. It seems that the only way to get Mr. Portsman to give me more details is to press him.
Hold it!
Are you sure Miss Bird is the only member of security who could have used the master key? There's only one person on staff at this time of night, and tonight, she's it. Isn't that right, Miss Bird? That's, true, but I wasn't able to use the master key at the time of the crime, sir. Wasn't able to? What's that supposed to mean? Yes, moving on, I'd hate to get sidetracked by something unrelated.
What do you mean unrelated? I want to hear what she has to say, pal.
But you can't really trust her not to tell lies. Plus, I hate wasting time. Should I hear Miss Bird out? Not so fast. I too am interested in hearing what Miss Bird has to say. Didn't I just say it'd be a waste of time? We don't need to hear her lies. I'll be the judge of that. Miss Bird, if you please. I discovered that the master key was missing at around 1 AM, sir. What do you mean by missing? As in, it wasn't anywhere in the security booth, sir. The killer must have stolen it. Mr. Portsman, I believe this to be an important piece of testimony, don't you? I can't believe that someone like you would be taken in by such words. I'm not lying, sir.
Objection!
If that's the case, then I'd like to know why you have the master key now. I don't quite know. It just reappeared all of a sudden, sir. Huh, a likely story. And where's your proof the key was stolen to begin with? I bet you just forgot where you put it, and then found it again. I never lose things. I could practically guarantee that. With me, if something disappears, it's usually because someone stole it.
Yeah, pal. Trust me, you don't want to test just how bad her luck is.
Unfortunately, I can't deem this piece of testimony as conclusive. Glad you agree, Mr. Edgeworth.
But... You still haven't established Maggie's motive for breaking into Mr. Edgeworth's office.
Her motive? Didn't we already establish it was theft? I mean, the culprit clearly went through the bookshelves and at least tried the safe.
It is as Mr. Portsman says, Detective. I can't ignore the fact that all the evidence points towards a motive of theft. But I'm done taking blows, it's time to counterattack with a few facts of my own.
Her intent, from the messed up shelves to the wiped down safe, I'd say thievery. I'm gonna finish pressing all the rest of his statements before we act.
Hold it!
Just to get all the dialogue. I concur the culprit's motive appears to have been thievery, however, glad to hear the great Miles Edgeworth is in agreement with little old me. However, with regard to the investigation of the bookshelves and safe, hey, good thinking, asking for my opinion on the matter. Would it be too much for you to allow me to complete a full sentence?
Hold it!
I thought we established Detective Gumshoe's innocence pretty thoroughly. It was just a theory, one hypothesis among the many possibilities. I mean, I had my doubts about Miss Bird from the very beginning. If that's the case, then why didn't you mention her first? Now, don't make that face, see? There goes the truth, running the other way. Let's pick up the pace and see if we can't catch up to it. I don't think you're catching my drift. To think that Edgeworth is using the word drift. But we are in agreement the detective isn't the killer, right? If so, then I hope you'll understand when I say... Since she's the only one who could have opened your office door. And that leaves only Miss Bird as our prime suspect. On top of which, she knows our good detective, doesn't she? Oh, oops, I didn't mean to read that one again.
Hold it!
Oops, I pressed the wrong thing. Well, whatever. Sorry, I'm pressing them out of order now. By dying message, you mean the bloody letters that spell out Gumshoe. I figured that whoever wrote his name must have wanted to frame him. And just the act of choosing his name is proof that the two knew each other well.
Mr. Edgeworth, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and present some evidence.
I would love to. But first we should listen a bit more and digest what he's saying. And press him for more information. Did I press this one?
Hold it!
Don't you think it's a bit early to be jumping to conclusions? Are you saying there's another way to open the door other than with the master key? Oh, I get it. Perhaps you had a spare, made for someone else. I'll have you know, I've never made a spare. So what are you insinuating? Nothing. Guess I should have known better than to suggest that someone like you would.
Hold it!
Is there anyone in this district who hasn't at least heard of Detective Gumshoe? Good point. He's practically a celebrity among us prosecutors.
Really? I never knew I was so talked about. Sir?
We're holding our collective breath, you know. When you script so badly that you're literally chased off the force.
Wait, what? Is that true, Mr. Edgeworth?
Of course not. That's hogwash.
Don't scare me like that. I almost had a heart attack there.
Hey, Laram, welcome to the stream.
Objection!
Do you wish to continue insisting that Miss Bird was set on stealing something? Why not? It's the truth after all. It was also by your logic we came to the whole thievery conclusion anyway. That may be, but you must also be aware of the fact that the safe is a secret safe. The existence of which is only privy to prosecutors. Yeah!
I find it a little hard to believe that a hidden safe was part of her cunning plan. But she could have found it by accident when she was turning everything upside down. I highly doubt that. I'd say the culprit knew exactly what they were looking for. Well, thank you for the stretch, Danger. Appreciate it. You guys at home, make sure you sit up straight in your seats and take a little stretchy. Thank you, thank you. After all, only the bookshelf and the safe were targeted. Yeah, even I didn't know about that safe, pal. That means there's no way Maggie could have known about it either. Then are you proposing that the killer's a prosecutor? Interesting conclusion. That's definitely looking more and more probable. What's wrong? Prosecutor? Do you have a different suspect in mind now? Curses, why? What made you... What's with the angry face all of a sudden? It's all my fault. What do you mean? It's Jim. He knew about the existence of the secret safes. Hey, Odd Caboose, welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping by. What did you just say? We're partners, like inseparable conjoined twins. That's why I told him. I filled him in on the secret safes. And that means... Yeah, I know. I only just told him too. Obviously it was wrong of me to tell him. I still can't quite believe it, but the thief who broke into your room was probably Jim. Now he's claiming the victim was the thief. And you were simply trying to stop him, weren't you? Miss Maggie Bird? Excuse me? I mean, you are a security guard, right? That's your job. But killing is going a bit too far, even in your risky profession. What the? You're still accusing Maggie of the murder? Yes and no. I mean, she had stumbled upon Jim, who had probably drawn his gun. You wonder if Portsman keeps that headband on to keep his hair from curling up like a Super Saiyan. I get it. It was self-defense, wasn't it? No, I couldn't. I could never do something like that. Not even as a security guard. Plus, even if he was the thief, he wouldn't have a key to this office. Which is precisely why he had to steal it, wouldn't you say? It was Jim who stole the master key. Ah! Pretty impossible for a supposedly stolen key to be here with us unless... Well, unless you retrieved it from Jim after you killed him. Mr. Portsman, are you honestly accusing your own partner of being a thief? I don't want to admit it, but it's the only way for everything else to make sense. Has he no honor? Now then, I think we're done here. The investigation waits for no man. Would you people be so kind as to see yourselves out? You can't kick us out, this is Mr. Edgeworth's office. Ah, but I'm the one who's been assigned to this case. You're all suspects to varying degrees, and therefore ineligible to run this show. Listen, pal, how many times do I have to say this? Maggie can't be the culprit. Detective Gumshoe, calm yourself. But sir... We have no choice but to accommodate his request. For now. Ha! Thank you, Mr. Edgeworth. At least one of you understands. Now then, if you could remove yourselves from my crime scene, I'd be most grateful. Huh. Mark my words, Mr. Portsman. We will meet again. That's a formal request from the legendary prosecutor himself. Then I suppose so. Now don't disappoint me, you hear? To be continued. Save your progress? So, this is where the demo ends, both in the original demo on the DS and the current demo on the Nintendo Switch. And I mentioned before that when I first got this game, I played the demo, and I wasn't very impressed with it. So I put the game away, and then I didn't play it for like a year until I finally took it out and played it because I had a long plane ride, and then suddenly I was hooked. So let me explain now why I was so unimpressed with the game at the time.
So I mentioned before, originally this was going to be an Emma Sky spinoff, and I liked Emma, and then they switched it to Edgeworth because he was more popular. And at the time, I didn't really have much an opinion on Edgeworth or Gumshoe from the original trilogy. Like, I thought they were okay, but I didn't like or dislike them. I was just neutral towards them. Of course, after I played Investigations 1 and 2, I grew to like both of them a lot more. So already I was kind of like, could have had an Emma Sky spinoff, but we didn't. So I was already a little bit wary. And then it was the whole like logic thing, which in the demo, of course, it's a demo, so it's the beginning of the game, right? It's supposed to be easy. The logic just seemed a little bit, silly, pretty straightforward. It just seemed like something to like redundant to do. So I already wasn't impressed by that. But then what really got me was I hate every time in an Ace Attorney game when they show you the culprit committing the murder at the very beginning of the scene. Like, I hate it when they do that because, yes, I get it. It's a tutorial, right? So they kind of need to nudge the player in the right direction to give them a little bit of help. But most of the time in Ace Attorney cases, the culprit is usually pretty obvious, right? I said this before, but Ace Attorney games are often not really so much of a whodunit, it's more of a howdunit, right? So you kind of have an idea who did it, but you don't really know how they did it, right? That's what you're kind of figuring out. So the fact that they already revealed the culprit right at the beginning, I was like so unimpressed that I wasn't really feeling it, right? And then of course the demo, you only get to see Edgeworth, Gumshoe, Maggie, and then the only new character is Portsman, who we already saw at the beginning during the cutscene. So in other words, there wasn't really anything interesting here for me to grab onto, right? No interesting witnesses, no fun cameoing characters. I mean, unless you're a Maggie fan, but again, I'm kind of neutral towards her. I don't like or dislike her. So that's why I wasn't really impressed by the demo or the first case of this game. But it really gets really good. But younger Kiro did not quite appreciate it at the time. And I think I understand, right? I understand why. March 14th, 4:18 a.m. Prosecutor's building, 12th floor hallway.
What is with that prosecutor? I can't believe how rude he was. It was unbelievable.
Please maintain your professionalism, detective.
I'm gonna find some real solid evidence proving Maggie's innocence. You'll see, sir.
But we've been kicked out of the crime scene, sir.
True. So then what now?
Looks like my life's fallen into yet another gigantic ditch. Not despair, Miss Bird. We can overcome this as well. There are many other places and things we should be looking into anyway.
Really, sir?
For example, this hallway. The linchpin of his argument against Miss Bird is related to the master key. In that case, this hallway is the perfect place to look for more information regarding the mystery surrounding my door. I also do think Edgeworth is a more interesting protagonist than Phoenix. He has a little bit more depth to his personality. Oops, that's not what I meant to press.
Yes, sir.
Detective Gumshoe, you look rather intrigued by something. Care to share?
Oh, it's nothing, but I noticed that Mr. Portsman calls his partner Jim.
A detective in that Sunday night drama,
All the cops is named Jim, too. I bet one of them's a big fan of that show.
you seem to know a little something about it yourself. I'll take it you watch it too. Are you sure that Portsman isn't just a fan of Fateful Findings?
Of course! The tight bond of friendship between prosecutor and detective is great, sir. But it's nothing compared to the super strong friendship we have. Ho ho ho.
Friendship, detective? I think you're mistaking it with pity.
How could you say that, sir? After all we've been through, too. Oh.
Achievement. Friendship or pity. Yeah, and I have grown to like the logic. I just think it's silly if they try it as a selling point. Like, logic as a mechanic is totally fine with me, but when they're all like, Edgeworth's special ability is logic. Take the two evidences and combine them together and use your logical prowess. Like, it just sounds a little silly when you put it that way.
And then he goes, Eureka! About Miss Bird. No way she's the killer. Please don't tell me you buy into that accusation, sir. Rest assured, I think she's innocent. However, I need to ask her a few things regarding her security guard position. Well, if you're only asking, that's okay. Just stand next to her and press A. Then you two can talk about whatever topic you pick. When you want to ask her about evidence, all you need to do is present to her with X. After you choose what to show her, press X again and off you two go. I recommend showing different people different things. You'd be surprised by what they have to say. Thank you for the explanation, though I don't recall asking for one. Oh, just so you know, sir, you can show me evidence the same way too. I do believe it's time to get down to business and ask some questions of Miss Bird. Ignore it again. Aww. Yeah, exactly. Like, Edgeworth is more competent at his job than Phoenix, because, you know, part of him is that he's kind of, you know, a little smug, a little bit, you know, he knows that he's better than you. And then that's also part of his personality too. Like, he has a little bit more personality, because all the main characters of the Ace Attorney series, or any character that becomes a main character, like Edgeworth, for example, they always have a little bit of goofiness, right, in their internal dialogue. And the internal dialogue, especially between Phoenix, Apollo, and Ryunosuke, are all very similar. And Edgeworth kind of takes on some of those traits as well. When you hear his inner dialogue, he has a little bit of that silly goofiness that the other protagonists have. But because Edgeworth has an established personality before becoming playable, they had to mix the two together, which gives him a little bit more depth. Plus, he has his entire backstory stuff, right? I mean, I know Phoenix has his backstory too, and so does Apollo, but I think Edgeworth is a little bit more concise. Hey Disnal, welcome to the stream, thanks for stopping by. I'm not going to present everything to Gumshoe, because this is just flavor text, but I want to at least present the Prosecutor's badge. Your Prosecutor's badge is really tiny compared to my police badge. Oh, but it's really cool, sir. Much, much cooler than my badge could ever be. There's no need to suck up to me, detective. Oh, that's all they say? Okay. Yeah, don't even get me started on Apollo's backstory. If we ever stream Apollo Justice Trilogy, which I do want to do in the future, but again, I have a lot of games on the back burner, and those games have a lot of reading, but I have a few things to say about Apollo's backstory. I was wondering if I may speak with you for a bit concerning this case. I've always been a big fan of the courtroom, but this is like a dream. A dream where I'm being cross-examined by the Miles Edgeworth. I can't let this chance pass me by. I must remember to ask her about the master key. I should jog her memory by showing my notes to her with X. Have you ever met the victim before? Well, I've seen him a couple of times. Before, when I had to go to Mr. Portsman's office. Mr. Faith is always playing basketball with Mr. Portsman, sir. That sounds like fun. Just once I'd love to have played with them. It sounds fun, but the only person ever taking a shot was Mr. Portsman. All Mr. Faith ever did was pass him the ball, sir. On second thought, I don't think I'd have fit in as well with them. Miss Maggie Bird, correct? I take it you are an acquaintance of the detective. She was under my supervision back when she was still on the force, sir. One day, she got caught up in a murder, and things started going downhill, so she quit. But I owe a lot to Detective Gumshoe for introducing me to my current employer. Or so I thought until a few hours ago. Right before I was about to clock out for the night. You got caught up in this whirlwind of a case, correct? Don't worry. My whole life has been nothing but a whirlwind of bad luck and failures. Since I was 6 months old, when I fell from the 9th floor of my apartment building. Maggie, have you ever thought about being like a bodyguard or a human shield? Are you made of some indestructible stuff? Or a stunt double, maybe? Maybe that'd be your job. I've been hit by all sorts of vehicles, gotten sick from all sorts of foods, failed at almost every test I've taken, experienced almost every kind of disaster. And now I even managed to be named a criminal.
just when I've become a security guard. I like how... I guess this isn't really a spoiler, but I like how she doesn't mention the fact that her freaking fiance died. I know they're probably avoiding saying that because technically that spoils one of the cases in the second game of the series, but literally it's like one of the things you learn within the first, like, 5 seconds of the game, so I don't really think of it as a spoiler, but they probably intentionally didn't mention it, but yeah, that also happened to her. That's a lot to go through in one lifetime. I know, and just when I thought I had finally found my happiness, I wind up getting you and Detective Gumshoe involved in my bad luck. You don't need to worry about me, Miss Bird. Nor do you need to worry about yourself. I will solve this case and prove your innocence. All I ask in return is for your cooperation. Yes, sir, Mr. Edgeworth. You can count on me. I'll do all I can to help. It's also kind of interesting to see characters reacting to Edgeworth as opposed to reacting to Phoenix is a little bit different. Because Edgeworth is a little bit more of a celebrity than Phoenix at this point in time. Also, I guess Edgeworth never actually prosecuted a case against Maggie either. I think she'd feel very different if he was the prosecutor on any of her cases. So when did you discover the master key was missing? By the time I realized it, I think it was around 1 AM, sir. And I noticed it was back around 2:30 AM. It was just sitting there on the ledge, where the security room's reception window is. But I'm sure that between those two times, it was not just gone, but stolen, sir. Why is such an important key stored in such an insecure place? It's not like that, sir. We always keep the key further inside the room, away from the window. Always, you say? Except for this time, correct? Well, I admit that was a bit careless, but I had my reasons. I left it out because I was sort of using it at the time. It was after I'd used it that I left it sitting out on the ledge. She used the master key. What did you mean by you use the master key? Oh, I had to use it to open the door for this prosecutor who had forgotten his key. I mean, it's my job as a security guard, right? Ah! What is it? That's right, I just remembered. The prosecutor who forgot his key. It was Mr. Portsman, sir. Maggie, I think that would have been very important for you to mention earlier, I'm just saying. What? Please tell me more, Miss Bird. Quickly. It was around 12 AM. Mr. Portsman had forgotten his office key, so he came down to security, sir. And that's when you loaned the master key to him. No way! It's against regulations to loan the master key out to anyone. I walked with Mr. Portsman to his office and opened the door for him personally, sir. I see. And then, what happened after that? Well, he called for me to come close up his office as he was leaving to go home. It was around 1:30 AM, I think. So in summary, for the sake of one forgetful prosecutor, you used the master key twice tonight. Talk about suspicious. I doubt you can say that you've never left your keys at home, Detective. I think this calls for a thorough examination of Mr. Portsman's door. Mr. Portsman looks like the Statue of Liberty with his hair at that angle. It's pretty funny. Master key was stolen. Use the master key. Oh, sometimes I forget I have to press another button before connecting them together. Miss Bird, I'm afraid there's a flaw in your story. What? No way, pal! I mean, sir! You said that you locked up Mr. Portsman's office at around 1:30 AM, correct? However, the master key had already been stolen at that time. Wow, nothing gets by you, Mr. Edgeworth. You saw that contradiction like a pro. I totally forgot about that, but thanks to you, I remember it now.
Maggie. You gotta work on your memory. This was only a few hours ago. And your job's on the line. You're right, it was around that very time I realized the master key was missing. And? Well, I'm a security guard, sir. I couldn't just admit to losing the master key, could I? So I pretended to lock up his door, sir. You pretended. He does kind of look like the Statue of Liberty. Yeah, I used my house key and made it look like I was locking up, sir. So in actuality, you never did re-lock the door, then? Well, I thought that maybe I can go lock it after I found the key. Come to think of it, I guess the door still hasn't been locked properly. Maggie, maybe this is why you... Well, look who we have here. It looks like you're in quite the pinch, Mr. Edgeworth. To be sure, a murder within the walls of the prosecutor's office is no trifling matter. We must find, apprehend, and punish the killer accordingly, post-haste. Sounds like a messy case you've got on your hands. If you ever feel lost or need some advice, my door is always open. How gracious. I will keep your offer in mind. Who's this guy again? Again, I like how people act towards Edgeworth differently than they do to Phoenix. Like, Winston Payne looks up to Edgeworth, so it's, you know. And if you're not sure who this is, he's the recurring character in the Ace Attorney series who's usually the tutorial prosecutor. You know, I was reading the other day, and it's kind of funny. In one of the games, I don't remember which one, Winston Payne says that he had like a 7-year streak where he didn't lose any cases, or something like that. If that is indeed true, if he's not making that up, that means that he has a longer winning streak than Edgeworth and Franziska. Oops, I didn't mean to press that. Winston Payne is a better prosecutor, apparently, allegedly, than Edgeworth and Franziska. Is everything alright? Yes, sir. If you must know, I weighed myself this morning and I'm finally at 154 pounds. Congratulations, but I was asking about this hallway in this room. Oh, everything's okay, sir. A word of advice, stay focused or you may start to lose even more weight. Is that a threat, Edgeworth? Yeah, you know what, you're right. To be fair, the court system in this game is anything but fair. It's like a kangaroo court in here. I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny. Well-crafted, high-quality sofa for visitors. The stitching is excellent. Talk about a luxury waiting area. These babies are also great for napping, you know. You would sleep even out here, detective. In a hallway. Whenever I do, I always wind up dreaming while giving testimony on the stand. But it always ends up the same way. Me getting trounced by a lawyer. Isn't that awful? Maybe I should give it a try sometime. To envision myself winning. Naturally. Huh? It's... Oh, isn't that missing 0 series file, sir? No doubt about it. The bloody letters mark it clear as day. There seem to be a few pages missing. Our thief took only what was necessary and left the rest behind. So what are these 0 files about, sir? I guess they got something worth stealing in them, huh? Not particularly. It's just a collection of court case files. However, the cases within these files are not mine. Huh? They belong to the High Prosecutor that used to occupy my current office. I have my reasons, but let's just say I was charged with keeping them as they were. Then that means the thief must have also wanted the file for a specific reason, right? It would seem so. Only the pages related to that case from 10 years ago are missing. I wonder why anyone would care about such an old case. I bet the thief's not under here. I guess there isn't enough space for anyone to hide under here anyway. I mean, if someone could contort themselves to fit, I'd be really impressed. Sounds to me like somebody has already tried at least once before. Won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny. I like how he says that every time I do any sort of inspection. 1202. These 4 numbers on a number plate alone proclaim this to be my office. Whoops, hey, these number plates slide right out, sir. They have to be able to take the plate off when a room becomes vacant, you know. Although the idea that it could be so easily removed is kind of... A minimalist yet classy door made of top quality wood. It's sturdily made, making it nearly impossible to break in by force. Nearly impossible to break in by force? That's pretty impressive. It's almost majestic, sir. I wish I could be as stately as this door. Only Gumshoe would praise a door as something greater than himself. Being a detective has its own rewards and a certain virtuous value, I think. If you live up to your full potential, that's a poignant trait that anyone can admire. I see. So you're saying, sir, that me being me is the best thing I could do for everyone. Right. That long pause wasn't exactly reassuring, sir. Oh, come on, Edgeworth. I know you just want to be nice to Gumshoe. I don't see any signs of forced entry. And according to the guard, no signs the lock was picked either, sir. Meaning the door really was opened with a key. Did you happen to ask if any prints were lifted from the doorknob? Apparently, the doorknob's clean as a whistle. Wait, they think. Whoever this thief is, they did a good job of not leaving any clues behind. What's a basketball doing here? That's Mr. Portsman's prized possession, sir. I heard he also plays soccer, dodgeball, and even tennis. Not a single one of those sports is suitable to be played in the hallway. If this is his prized possession, why is it just sitting out here in the hallway? What's a basketball hoop doing here? Hey, didn't this used to be just outside next to the building a long time ago? I mean, I'm just more impressed that the ceiling is high enough for the basketball hoop. So when and why was it moved indoors? I don't remember exactly, but I saw one of the officers drag it up here recently. Drag it? I heard it wouldn't fit in the elevator, so the poor guy had to bring it himself. All the way up to the 12th floor. I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny. Room 1203. I take it this is Mr. Portsman's office. Yeah, you can't mistake it because of that basketball hoop, sir. Oh, that reminds me, Mr. Portsman actually had wanted room 1202 really badly. But since you were already occupying it, Mr. Edgeworth, we put him next door, sir. So why was Mr. Portsman so particular about getting room 1202? Maybe he wanted some lucky numbers. I'm not sure, but I bet it's because of something like his birthdays? December 2nd? Yep, that's gotta be it. I can't think of another reason why. I can think of at least 3. Why am I even wasting time thinking about this? Yeah, they said a cop. Singular, so just one poor guy dragged this basketball hoop up. What a trooper. A minimalist yet classy door made of top quality wood. Is this the exact same conversation? Even Mr. Portsman seems dignified just because he works behind one of these. Nonsense. A man doesn't become more or less dignified because of where he works. Well, he still seems more dignified than Mr. Payne. Mr. Payne. I suppose custodial work can also be dignified. Burn! Winston here catching strays. The door is locked tight. Huh, I bet the old credit card trick wouldn't work here, huh, Mr. Edgeworth? This is the office of a high prosecutor, detective. These doors would be pretty ineffective if the average cat burglar can get through them. Ah, so I guess only a great cat burglar can get through. That must be who our culprit is. Might I advise you to return that conclusion to whatever pawn shop you bought it from. Yeah, meanwhile Payne's like, I'm standing right here. Is this spot somehow connected to any of the evidence I hold?
Is this what I want? I mean, I know what I'm trying to say, but sometimes the game's like, no, we want you to specifically add these two things together.
Eureka!
Eureka! There's a contradiction between reality and the evidence. If what Miss Bird said is true, then why is that door locked tight? Huh? You know you're right. Miss Bird, are you sure you didn't re-lock this door? I'm certain of it, sir. And I don't think Mr. Portsman noticed it himself that I hadn't. Which means... What, sir? Either means that he actually does have the key to his office, or the door Miss Bird opened wasn't this one at all, but a completely different one. She opened a different door, but how can you prove that? There's an easy way to find out. All we need to do is... we need to examine these. Prints on the doorknob. The prints on the doorknob will tell us everything. Hey you, yeah you pal, do us a favor and see what you can lift from this, okay? So, what did you find out? There's no need for such belligerent nostril flaring, detective. Sir, I found only Mr. Portsman and Mr. Fate's prints on this doorknob. So only two people's prints were found on this, huh? That's pretty decisive. Huh? I'm lost, sir. Thinking logically, a certain other person's prints should be on this knob as well. Now then, whose prints should also be on this doorknob? Hey Kieran, welcome in. Thank you so much for the stretch, I appreciate it. Hope you had a good stream.
Take that!
Don't you find it odd the prints of the person who unlocked this door are absent? You mean... Yes, the door that Miss Bird opened could not have been this one, but a different one. What have we here? I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny. Yes, let's just keep complimenting the door every time we examine it. A minimalist yet classy door made of top-quality wood. It's kind of majestic, too. Fits in real well with the ambience of the prosecutor's office. Okay, this is the exact same dialogue. Is this basketball property of Mr. Portsman? Yes, sir. He's always ready for a match. Basketball, soccer, dodgeball, tennis. Doesn't matter what sport it is, he's game. Although, I think it'd be a little hard to play tennis with this ball. That isn't the point you should be focusing on, detective. You're right, sir. Now I know what I should be focusing on. Bad Mr. Portsman. Someone should teach him to clean up his toys after he's done playing. I think we've reached the end of this conversation. I feel like Nick Offerman would love the wood talk on the door. You know what? You're absolutely correct. I love Nick Offerman. He's so funny. I, of course, know him best as Ron from Parks and Recreation, but it feels like every role he takes on is just an extension of that. Like, I said last month how I watched The Last of Us on the plane ride, right? And then I didn't know that Nick Offerman was in the game, or in the show. And then when he appeared, I was like, Bill is the perfect role for him. I was like, oh my god, that's actually the perfect character for him, because I knew the character from the game, right? And I was like, that is exactly what Nick Offerman would do. What is this? Looks like a scrap of paper. I'll get it, sir. Let's see. Oh, there's something written on it. It looks like a note from the victim. I brought the 3 pieces of evidence by, just like we talked about on the phone. It looks like you're out. Guess I'll catch up to you later. Buddy. Yeah, it is for Mr. Portsman. What's this? What are you looking at, sir? Oh, hey, how about a game? That's okay, detective. I just found the position of this hoop to be a little off. Hey, you're right, sir. I guess it shifted when someone made a seriously sweet slam dunk. The positioning of the hoop is definitely unnatural. I better take note of this.
Poking around in this hallway has actually paid off quite handsomely. Huh? How so, sir? In a variety of different ways. I think it's time we had a little chat with the real culprit of this case.
You know who the killer is? Wow, Mr. Edgeworth.
As long as my logic is sound, then yes. The mastermind behind this murder is none other than Mr. Portsman.
What? Mr. Portsman?
I knew it, that's exactly what my logic senses were telling me too. I suspected it was him from the instant he accused Maggie of being that killer, sir. That is anything but logical. Lady and gentlemen, prepare yourselves. Come what may, it's time to knock on truth's door.
March 14th, 5:12 a.m. High Prosecutor's Office, room 1202.
Mr. Portsman, I finished processing the bloody letters, sir.
Alright, let me take a gander at it. Pass it here.
He actually threw it.
Okay, looking good. You there, take good care of this.
It just bounced off Gumshoe like nothing. The man's a brick wall.
Well, if isn't Detective Gumshoe.
End of the line for you, Portsman. We got you now.
Call off your dog, Mr. Edgeworth. Is this some kind of joke?
It's no joke. We know, Mr. Jacques Portsman, that you are the guilty party in this case.
Huh? You must be pretty upset getting chased out of your own room. I'd be mad too. So I guess you can stay, if you promise to stay out of our way.
You intend to hide your crime under the guise of a prosecutor doing his job.
I can see right through the unsightly paper-thin mask you wear upon your cowl. Huh! Who'd ever thought it'd come to this? Actually, come to think of it, your mentor was Manfred von Karma, right? The legendary prosecutor who never lost a single case for 40 long years. But there was always this incessant chatter about forged evidence with that guy. Really teaches me I've got to stay on the lookout for false accusations, you know.
Are you done trying to play mind games with me? Because they won't work. The only thing you should be using that mouth of yours for now is explaining yourself. Although that too will only dig your hole deeper. Either way, your game is up.
Well, aren't we full of ourselves? Even though you have yet to prove anything.
Mr. Portsman's rebuttal.
I have no idea what sort of harebrained idea you have in mind, but there's a mountain of evidence that points away from me being the culprit. Besides, how may I ask do you propose I unlocked your door and got in here? Look, I feel bad doing this to you, but I've got work to do, so we're done here.
Sorry, but we are not finished yet.
Boy, you're stubborn. I suppose you're basing your accusations on something.
I'll show you what I'm basing my accusations on with evidence.
Hold it!
My accusation is a harebrained idea, is it?
You tell me, I'd say it is. After all.
Oh, that's all they had to say for that press.
Hold it!
Oh, and what pray tell kind of evidence are we talking about here?
Jim was my partner, so you can't say I had a motive for killing him.
And that's it?
That's not even an anthill, let alone a mountain. But it's more than enough, wouldn't you agree?
Might I recommend you review what the word evidence means?
It doesn't change the fact that the evidence doesn't point to me as the killer.
Hold it!
Unfortunately, I believe I already shown how earlier.
Your speculations mean nothing, as I still insist I could not gain access to your room.
What should I do now? Should I raise an objection?
Sure. You claim to have no way to open my door. However, is that really the honest truth? Ha! Alright, I'll humor you. Go ahead, shoot. Very well then. I propose to use this to open my door.
Take that!
Oh. I guess I won't have a chance to finish pressing all his statements, but oh well. I believe you were able to open my office door with this. The master key, no less.
Objection!
Wait, hold on for a sec. I never laid a finger on that key, as you already know. Precisely, you were able to open my door without lifting a single finger. Well, maybe you did, but only to direct. Huh? That's right, you used your finger to direct this person to open my door with a key. I like how Edgeworth's theme always plays throughout different parts in this game when he's like, got his objections correct and stuff like that too. It's kind of nice that he has that, like, leitmotif.
Take that!
Especially the way they use it in the second Investigations game is really good. You would ask Miss Bird to open your own office door for you, yes? Yeah, I kind of forgot my key at home. Happens a bit too often for my taste, you know? But the room you had Miss Bird open at the time was not your own, was it? Huh? What? You have quite the imagination. Why don't we ask the girl herself whose door she opened, shall we? I'm certain that it was Mr. Portsman's door, sir. I checked the number plate to make sure I was opening the right door, sir. See, Miss Bird backs up my story. Yet, what if you had misled her to fool her into thinking what you wanted? Ha! And how do you suppose I did that? By switching the number plates on our doors, for example. That's right! They do slide out pretty easily. Furthermore, you then used one other thing to give a very strong impression. That the door she was opening was yours and not, in fact, mine. What was it that Mr. Portsman used to make Miss Bird think that this was his room? So that's not what I want.
Take that!
What? The basketball hoop, sir? It's quite the peculiar fixture in any hallway, let alone a hallway in this building. Which is why it left an unusually strong impression on you. It's an object perfectly suited to sit just outside the office of a peculiar prosecutor. Gah! That's very true, sir, because there was a basketball hoop sitting there. I thought the door I was opening had to be Mr. Portsman's. There are signs the hoop has been moved. You sit in front of my office, to be sure. I see. So that's how you throw suspicion on people. Thanks for the tip. But I think your conjecture is a little off the racetrack. Now you're just spouting nonsense. I had the girl open my office door. After that, I was in my room the entire time. You don't have a single reason to suspect me. So he intends to claim his innocence to the end, does he? I'm as pure and innocent as my jacket. And Miss Bird is as dirty and guilty as the jacket she wears. My jacket's not dirty, I'll have you know. I just washed it yesterday. Please calm down, for I intend to show who is the one truly covered in slime here. Nice burn, Edgeworth. Good one. I also wouldn't expect him to use the word slime. I feel like he'd use a more sophisticated word than that.
Hold it!
Nonsense, you say? Yes, because I'm telling the truth here. Okay, very small press.
Hold it!
Just a tiny little push. Using the master key, of course. Sure, you have a problem with that? That is what the master key's for, right? Perhaps we should place it in an elaborate labyrinth of some sort for people like you.
it!
What were you doing in your office? I was doing my usual training regimen. Training regimen? Were you going through your law books from start to finish? Mainly batting practice and some weights. Oh, and I jog when I get the chance. Wow, you must be the buffest prosecutor we have. With the weakest legal muscles, it would seem. I was doing my usual workouts, so...
Hold it!
I think I've given you quite a few reasons, actually.
Objection!
But none of those would stand up on their own.
Objection!
And what about all the evidence?
Objection!
They're just shouting objections back and forth. It's all circumstantial. No judge would convict on such flimsy evidence. He seems to be trembling a little. One more little push. All I have to do is find a flaw in his testimony. Maybe you should get better at lying.
Objection!
Again, his smug grin, the way it slowly grows across his face, the way it stretches so far from ear to ear, and his like beady little evil eyes. Again, a relic from the first Ace Attorney game, but it's just so funny. That was a lie. What are you talking about? How is that a lie? This is a note the victim left for you, Mr. Portsman. A note? It was left under your door. Or did you not notice? And right here it says, but you're out. You were not in your room when the victim came to call on you. So then, where were you and what were you doing? Yeah! Shall I explain it in full detail for you? You were busy snooping around in my room, the very room you had Miss Bird open for you.
Objection!
That's just nonsense. You have no evidence that I made the girl open your door for me. Oh, but I do. I have very decisive evidence. No way! This is proof positive that you had Miss Bird open the door for you.
Take that!
Now there's that pursuit theme. I had your door dusted for prints. My door, huh? What for? Come on, I bet you didn't find anything. You sure are good at wasting time. You're right, I didn't find anything, and definitely not Miss Bird's fingerprints. Her prints? What do they have to do with anything? Let's put it this way, if she really was the one who opened your door, then her print should naturally be on the doorknob she touched. Ugh! Further, all the prints on my office door knobs have been wiped clean off. I can only assume it's because Miss Bird's fingerprints were on it. Don't you think it's time you gave up on your charade? We know you stole into my office with the intent of stealing something from me, and Detective Faith found you out. Possibly because he heard sounds coming from a room whose occupant was on leave. Mr. Portsman, you killed Mr. Faith to silence him. And I had the misfortune to return when I did. You had to threaten me as you escaped. As I said when you had the gun to my back, no one gets away with committing murder in my office. Just what's so funny, pal? Well, that look of stiff seriousness on the face of this office's finest prosecutor. And he makes a huge mistake in accusing me is simply too much to bear. There's just nothing else like it in the world. What? Mr. Edgeworth just explained it all, and even backed it up. You're the murderer. Stop trying to be slippery and just admit to the crime already. And as I said earlier, it's all so circumstantial, so full of conjecture. You say you checked my doorknob for prints? Well, I can readily confess I wiped the knob down. Well. I I'm a little obsessive-compulsive, you see. I didn't want to touch a doorknob that you had touched. Which is why I wiped the knob down as soon as I could after you opened the door. After that, it makes perfect sense that only Jim's and my own prints would be on there. You made that up just now, didn't you? Furthermore, as for the note Jim left for me, do you know exactly when that was? For all we know, he could have left it there before I arrived at the office. Like early evening, for example. Are you saying you failed to notice a note in your doorway? Even geniuses fail at times. I was probably too preoccupied by work-related matters, although that's no excuse. Now that's just flat out lie. There's no way you didn't notice a note that size. Ah, but you can't prove that, can you? Say something, Mr. Edgeworth. Back me up here, sir. Portsman makes a good point. I can't prove that he didn't just simply overlook it. Besides, I have an airtight alibi. Airtight, you say? I only just realized I had one as we were talking. I guess it would have been better for all of us if I told you sooner. If memory serves, you came back to this office at around 2 AM, correct? And it was then you had that unfortunate confrontation at gunpoint with the culprit. But at exactly that time, I was down in criminal affairs. Ask around, I'm sure the other detectives will corroborate my story. It's the perfect alibi. Do you really think that's perfect? Like I said, I don't care. Ask around all you like. You'll see for yourself. Detective Gumshoe? Sir, yes sir. I'll go check his alibi, sir. Be right back. Did they just stand around and wait for him to come back? Mr. Edgeworth, sir, I think we're in trouble. It's just like Mr. Portsman said. Those guys down in criminal affairs said they saw him around 2 AM. You see? All the evidence points to him being the culprit. So there must be a contradictory point in his alibi somewhere.
Hold it!
You are correct, it was around 2 AM. Are you sure? It's really important to me that you're spot on with the time. I remember checking my watch then, and makes no mistake, it was 2. Oh, giving testimony like a pro. Okay, so you came back to your office at 2.
Hold it!
I'm glad some of the press statements aren't too long. Because sometimes it's like, when they go really off track, it's like, okay, I kind of done reading. I just want to get on with the story. Even though it's fun flavor text, usually. It's kind of nice when sometimes it's to the point, especially because this game has a lot of sections like this. It is as you say, however. Yes, however, you're the only one who claims to have bumped into the culprit. So tell me, did you see the person's face? Was it me who you saw? It was pitch black, so I couldn't actually see.
Objection!
I guess it's also nice that you hear like objections from other people too, since there's no prosecutor opposing you at every turn. They actually had like to give lines to less important characters. Oh come now, I'm sure you saw something. Try a little harder, why don't you? I'm beginning to feel like I'm the one being interrogated here. Oh well, it doesn't matter if you remember or not. It only matters that you ran into the culprit.
Hold it!
So you paid the Criminal Affairs Department a visit. Yep, right after I left the prosecutor's building, I headed straight for the precinct.
Hold it!
Well, we did go and ask around to confirm your testimony. And it was just as I said, right? Yes, sir. A number of detectives said that they saw you at around that time. See, I have the perfect alibi. That's the ace I had up my sleeve. Impossible, he actually does have the perfect alibi. What's wrong? Why the sudden sullen look on your face? Can't you say anything back, Mr. Edgeworth? Huh, I think we reached the end of the line. It's time to get off this crazy train. You there. Sir. Please escort the young lady out. Remember, be gentle. Maggie! Detective Gumshoe! Is there nothing I can do? There must be a way to turn the situation around. If only I had a clue. Did I miss something that can help me cast doubt on his alibi? I need to calmly think this through one more time, and with logic! There were 2 bullets left at the scene of the crime. One that robbed Mr. Faith of his life. And one that nearly robbed me of my jacket. However, the murder weapon only shows signs of being fired once. Meaning that it is entirely possible that a second gun was used in my office tonight. But seeing as how the killer had to steal Mr. Faith's gun, I doubt the killer had another gun up their sleeve. Therefore, the second gun could have been the property of an entirely different person. Which could mean that there was another person who paid a visit to my office tonight. I wonder what I need to connect together. Logic! Power! Brain blast! Supposing there was yet another visitor tonight. That would also resolve the issue of why my shelves were upended twice. We know the shelves were disturbed once before and once after the murder. So it shouldn't be much of a stretch to think that it was the work of 2 different people. Once by the person who stole the victim's gun, and then killed him with it. And once again, after the murder by our second culprit. Who was the owner of the second gun? If we suppose the second culprit's gun was the one that was pointed at my back.
Objection!
Mr. Portsman, it seems I need to amend my assumptions regarding this case. I like his, tiny little sprite objection. He had to, rear back and then point. Great! So you finally come to your senses. Mr. Edgeworth! Sir, what are you saying? This has been a big misunderstanding on my part from the start. I assumed that the person I ran into was the killer, but that may not have been the case. What do you mean? The person I ran into was just your average thief. A thief? But sir, doesn't that cause some sort of contradiction in the facts? Not at all. It simply means the killer was someone else. And it means that in actuality 2 culprits stole into my office tonight. What do you mean, sir? It explains both why my shelves were disturbed twice and how there were 2 guns. Mr. Portsman tricked Miss Bird and gained entry into my office.
Objection!
Now you're just leading the argument. You still don't have any actual proof, you know. If you could, please go along with my hypothetical scenario for now, Mr. Portsman. In the end, if you really are innocent, you should have nothing to worry about. Now then, returning to my scenario, Mr. Portsman was out to steal something from me. Which is why he checked my secret safe and ransacked my shelves. This is the first time. So then this would be when the files were put back in the wrong order, right? Correct. And then, just when he was about to look somewhere else, who should walk in but his own partner, Mr. Faith? Why did Mr. Faith come into your room, sir? He probably had business with Mr. Portsman, which is why he was in the area. But that's when he noticed some sounds coming from my office would be my guess. Oh, because you were supposed to be away, right? And he must have thought it was odd, so he came into the office to check it out. Correct. And as a detective, that was the right thing to do. When he came in, he found his own partner standing there. Menacingly. Because it was Mr. Portsman, Mr. Faith probably let his guard down. But Mr. Portsman was not so merciful as to let him leave alive. He waited for a chance and stole Mr. Faith's gun from him, and then... he killed him. He silenced Mr. Faith for catching him in the act of stealing. This was the moment in which the first shot was fired, the one that landed in my files. Following that, Mr. Portsman wiped the gun down and left it behind as he made his exit. He could afford to do that because he had also left the fake dying message behind. You're such a complicated troublemaker, you know that? Well, if things were as simple as that, then all would be solved. However, there was yet another visitor to my room, and this is where it gets complicated. There was another visitor, sir? Yes, and this other person's objective was also to steal something from me. Now then, even after Mr. Portsman left, the door to my office remained unlocked. However, this new visitor had no way of knowing that, and so... they stole the master key from the security guard's room. And then entered my room and searched through my shelves. This was the second time they were disturbed, and it seems the thief found their prize. They stole Zero File, right, sir? Correct. Only just as the thief was about to leave with the file, I appeared. There was a lot going on in this office between like 12 midnight and 2 a.m. The thief then threatened me with their own gun and made their escape. Like, you'd think that'd be like the best time to commit the crime, right? Because no one would be around, but everyone was around. The second bullet was fired during that brief encounter. So the shelves getting messed up twice and the 2 bullets. It was all because 2 different people were doing those things at 2 different times. Precisely. So now you see, Mr. Portsman, the person I met was just a thief and was not, in fact, Mr. Faith's killer. Your alibi for the time frame in which I ran into the other person is now irrelevant. Because we now know the murder took place during the first culprit's visit.
Objection!
Ha ha ha! What's so funny, pal? Absolutely splendid. Your scenario explains everything. Of course it does. It's Mr. Edgeworth after all. But you know, it still doesn't change the fact that it's all circumstantial. Supposing if, and that's a big if, your theory's right. It would indeed render my alibi, which has withstood scrutiny, mind you, irrelevant. But there's still one defining point of your argument for which you have no evidence. Your supposition that I was the first visitor. Mr. Edgeworth, you can't let him get away with that, sir. He has a point. I have absolutely no proof at this point. Don't say that, sir. I don't believe this. Don't worry, Maggie. I'll do something if I must. You know something? I find your attitude to be somewhat peculiar, Mr. Edgeworth. If the person you met really was just a plain old thief, then why is that person not your main suspect? That is, if your theory is correct. Okay, so normally in Ace Attorney games, when you do a cross-examination, there's 2 versions of the music. There's cross-examination Moderto, and then there's cross-examination Allegro, which is like the faster version that usually plays when you're further into that section of the trial. But the Edgeworth games have a 3rd version of the cross-examination theme called Presto, cross-examination Presto. And it uses a different melody than Moderto and Allegro. And I think it's brilliant because it really adds that extra layer of stakes to tell you, oh, we're getting close to the end and we're almost quartering this guy. And it's, as you can hear it, it's very like celebratory. And I really like that. I wish the regular Ace Attorney games had a 3rd cross-examination theme as well. Great Ace Attorney did in one particular case, which I think was brilliant. Yeah, the original Investigations theme, or game, had a Presto theme as well. Both Investigation 1 and 2 have Presto themes.
The thief you ran into should be a real suspect, wouldn't you say? We should be out there looking for that thief right now. They might be still nearby. I hate to repeat myself, but as I already said, I was training in my room. And when Jim came to deliver some evidence to me, I was down at criminal affairs. So I can't be expected to know what happened around here after I left. So you think we should be out there looking for the thief? Of course, now isn't the time to be having these dead-end discussions. I don't think it's at all dead-ended. I find your alibi to be fascinating. Let's continue where we left off, shall we? I know he's lying. I know he was here at the scene of the crime. I just have to find a way to prove it.
Hold it!
Actually, no, I wouldn't. Why not? That's elementary, the dying message, of course. Mr. Faith's killer very clearly left those letters on the spines of those files. And it was after that they were on there that the thief stole one of them. You mean the 0 files, right? And that's how we also know the letters themselves were a setup and not from Mr. Faith. If the thief was the killer, do you think they would try to undermine themselves? It's the DDR music, you're right. It's kind of funny, he tried to frame Gumshoe, but in doing so he incriminated himself. Maybe the killer just didn't think of that either. Yeah, that must be it. Maybe, just maybe. We should be out there looking for the thief right now. They might still be nearby. Once escaped, I highly doubt a thief would linger nearby. Well, you never know. Maybe they didn't get what they were really after. Oh, you talk like you know quite a bit about this thief. It's nothing like that. I have no idea anything after all.
Hold it!
But according to Mr. Faith's note... Hold on, I thought we already cleared that up. Didn't we say Jim left that note for me in the early evening? If you have proof that he left it at a different time, say just before he was murdered... I don't have any, no. You see, so I insist again, I was in my office the entire time.
Hold it!
Why didn't you go there with Mr. Faith? Ah, that's because he said he was tired and was going to take a quick nap. You know those sofas in the hallway? He likes to sleep on those. It's one of his habits. And what of the evidence he brought? They were things related to yesterday's case. Just 2 things, a gun and a pendant. Interesting. This piece of testimony seems too crucial to let slip through the cracks. He brought me 2 items, a gun and a pendant, that are related to yesterday's case.
Hold it!
A gun and a pendant. Yes, this gun, which was the murder weapon, and this pendant, which belonged to the victim. Why were you taking them to criminal affairs? There was something in a past case file I want to compare these two to. Well, this has nothing to do with the case right now. Anyway, I believe you'll find the long paper trail I left to your satisfaction. This is all matching up with what Detective Gumshoe found out. So I can't be expected to know what happened around here after I left.
Hold it!
I can't expect you to know, can I? Nope, but I guess you can expect me to take a guess based on logical deductions. Oh, then let's see you deduce. Jim waited for me to leave, then stole the master key. For the purpose of sneaking into your room, of course. And that's when Miss Bird caught him red-handed, and the murder occurred. It's all exactly as I laid out earlier. I know he's lying. I know he was here at the scene of the crime. I just have to find a way to prove it. Hey Dreamy Umachan, welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping by today.
Only 2 pieces? I believe the proper phrase here is, "You fail. You lose. Good day, sir." Excuse me? You fail as a prosecutor, Mr. Portsman, as you intend to keep evidence hidden from me. What are you talking about? I haven't hidden anything from you. Well, here's a piece I think you should read. Carefully.
Ah, it says Mr. Faith was bringing 3 pieces.
Yes, and this is the victim's real dying message to you, Mr. Portsman.
I can't believe
To get tripped up by simple arithmetic. Where is the missing piece of evidence?
it's...
You have it, don't you? Only the guilty would make such a face. Detective Gumshoe! You don't have to say it, sir. I'll pat the guy down from head to toe.
The way he leaned backwards. Don't come any closer, I'm warning you.
This is all part of the investigation, pal, so don't even think about stopping me. Well, I guess my head was blocking it.
No!
Hey, what's this? Yeah, this on him, sir. Despite what you said, it would appear you do have something to hide. But why would he hide something like this? There's only one reason why anyone would hide evidence of this caliber. Because it would unequivocally point to that person himself as the real killer. Let's examine this videotape in a little more detail. For the section of the tape that will drive the last nail into his coffin. The KG8 incident. That's a police case number, sir. Does that mean this video is evidence from that case? Interesting. However, what's recorded on this isn't what's important right now. Let's give the casing a thorough once-over. Ah, that's blood, isn't it? Yes, and I believe this is what the good prosecutor was trying to hide from us. This blood is still fresh. You mean this might be Detective Faith's blood?
No!
You've got it all wrong! No amounts of denial can save you. We have but to run a blood test to find the truth. You told us you received evidence from the victim earlier. Now you will tell us when and how did the victim's blood find its way onto this video?
Yeah, it's totally suspicious.
Was it at the moment of his death? Did Detective Faith have this videotape on his personage when you killed him? You know very well there's no way to prove that. Not even if we were to examine this tape for fingerprints? If I had to take a guess, I'd say the only ones on here would belong to the murderers, you and Mr. Faith.
No, impossible!
He swallowed that metal and chomped it to bits. That's pretty impressive. March 14th, 5:47 a.m. High Prosecutor's Offices, room 12002. Mr. Portsman has been placed under arrest for the murder of Detective Buddy Faith, sir. Very good. Yeah, maybe it was a chocolate medal. You know what? You're right. Maybe he was like, like the game show, the Japanese game show where you have to find out what's made of chocolate and what's real, and people go around just biting random things. And the results we got from the lab techs on the tape turned out to be real solid, sir. The blood work came back, and it was definitely Mr. Faith's blood on there. How did I finish this case at breakneck speed? What can I say? I'm just a genius. You're funny, Kieran. I know Kieran just finished this case today, for context. He also played the demo version of it too on a previous stream. I hope you had fun with that, by the way. As a bonus, they were also able to lift a few of Mr. Fate's fingerprints as well.
We need Kiro as Edgeworth in art. I'm not sure if I would look good as Edgeworth. Actually, I'm pretty certain I wouldn't. Thank you very much, Mr. Edgeworth. I still can't believe I got to see your cool deduction skills outside the courtroom. I'm impressed beyond words, sir.
It was nothing. I'm just sorry you got caught up in a murder in my office. Please accept my apologies.
It was nothing, really, compared to what I've been through, I mean. I considered myself lucky it was only burglary and a murder this time. If it had been a holdup or a hostage situation, I'd have thrown my hands up in the air. I think I'm finally rising up from a goddess of misfortune to just an unlucky person.
Something tells me we should have hired a different person for security detail. You know something, sir? That Mr. Portsman really was one corrupt prosecutor.
Why would you say he was corrupt?
Well, I heard there was a number of suspicious things related to his court cases. There's even rumors about how some of the evidence he uses is forged, sir.
Forged evidence, huh?
And they say he even decided not to prosecute a few cases for really vague reasons.
Oh, that guy was a complete disgrace to the entire profession.
We never did get around to asking what his reason was for breaking into my office. Yeah, whatever we got near that topic, he just clammed up.
Although we can be pretty certain it was to steal something.
This is just between you and me, sir, but there's a rumor that some sort of huge organization's involved behind the scenes.
Oh? Well, well.
With Mr. Portsman not willing to divulge anything, it certainly leads credence to that rumor.
It would seem we haven't heard the last of this.
Huh? Then Mr. Portsman isn't the bad guy.
I didn't say that, but rather that there is still many more mysteries for us to solve. For example, we still haven't figured out the significance to this piece of evidence.
Take that!
The person who stole this file, the other villain of the night.
Yeah, I wonder who it was.
What happened to the stolen pages? I wonder, who in the world was it that held me up at gunpoint?
Mr. Edgeworth, sir.
Yes?
I came across this while I was processing your office earlier. Sir?
This card.
What is it, sir? Is that a bird or something on there?
It's not just any bird. It's the mark of the raven. A three-legged raven. Even you should know what this is, Detective.
Oh, it's about that thing, isn't it? That great thief everyone's talking about.
Yes, it is the mark of the great thief, Yatagarasu. Under the mark of a legendary bird, the Yatagarasu is noble to the end. Modern Robin Hood. Labeled mysterious and phantom-like, the Yatagarasu appears and vanishes at will. Though we don't know much about this thief's ultimate goal, we do know the targets. The Yatagarasu likes to find and make public evidence of corrupt dealings of all sorts. Theft is always performed in silence, and always with perfection. Once a target's chosen, no dramatic calling card or announcement is sent forth. Instead, the chosen corporation is infiltrated without even the target noticing. Some days later, the evidence that was found is sent out to the mass media, along with a single card. Although it has been a while since the Yatagarasu's last appearance.
Hey, Mr. Edgeworth, look, something's written on the back.
What? Let me see.
It's the location of where the thief put the stolen files.
So the person who stole the contents of the file was the Yatagarasu. Yatagarasu. Organization. Quite a few key words are popping up in this mystery. The murder in my office. The return of the great thief, Yatagarasu. Looking back, I can't say I didn't see these events coming. For they are heralded by the incidents
that began to occur 2 days ago. Kiro in the attorney attire, and then Kurt B's his right-hand man or detective. Sounds about right. Okay, there we go. I'm not sure. I don't want to click back because I don't want it to start the next episode. I don't know if it takes me back to the main screen or if it just proceeds to the next one. But there we go. Turnabout visitor. Oh, it takes me back to chapter select. Okay, good. Thank you. There's a familiar silhouette. All right. There we go. The first case of Ace Attorney Investigations 1. So we're going to continue playing this game over the next few days. I'm pretty much planning to stream pretty much every day. And for the first few cases, I already planned out my stream. So the first few cases, I could probably finish the whole case in one sitting. And then the last 2 cases, I think, will take multiple sittings. I already looked up the times to figure it out, which is also what I did for Great Ace Attorney as well. I had a lot of stamina back then. Great Ace Attorney were like my first streams, like actual streams as a VTuber. And I went for some of the streams, I went for like 7 or 8 hours at a time. Like, it's crazy. I definitely don't have that stamina anymore. Umineko was pretty much the peak of my reading stamina for streaming, but this was a nice length. But of course, that was the first case, so they do get longer from here. But like I said, like, this game is really good. And I think Ace Attorney Investigations is good, but Ace Attorney Investigations 2 is outstanding. And I will keep hyping up that game, because I am fully confident that that is not a controversial opinion at all. So, yeah, tomorrow's going to be episode 2, Turnabout Airlines. Kind of funny, because I told you guys a story about how when I started playing this game, I picked up the game after a year of not touching it on an airplane. So when I started episode 2 and it was Turnabout Airlines, I was like, oh, actually, this is actually perfect. But like I said earlier during the interlude, like originally when I played the demo of this game, right, which was a Turnabout Visitor, the first half, I was not really impressed. And like part of it was, one, I would have liked an Emma Sky spinoff, and they did Edgeworth instead. And at the time, I felt neutral about both Edgeworth and Gumshoe, which has since changed. And I also just really hated that they showed us the culprit right at the beginning of the case. I hate when they do that so much. I wish they would do that less, because I mentioned before, again, it's a tutorial, right? So I get they want to nudge the player in the right direction and make it not too hard for them. But Ace Attorney has always been more about how done it, rather than who done it. Usually, in most cases, it's kind of obvious who the culprit is, just based on their appearance usually looks villainous, right? Or things just start pointing towards them. And you just gotta figure out, well, how does it all add up? So I don't think that they should be showing us the culprit. It just makes it a little bit more fun, I think. And, you know, if you look at the other tutorial cases in the Ace Attorney series, there are a number of cases that they don't show us the culprit at the beginning. And those, I think, are among the better tutorial cases because they keep things interesting, right? It's so boring when you know right off the bat what happens. And so that already put me off of this game because I was like, oh, they made it too easy. And then plus, like, the logic you use in the first episode was way too easy, so it just seemed like trivial, right? Which changes as we go along throughout the game, but it just left such a bad impression on me. And I didn't think the characters in the first episode were that interesting at the time. Because again, I like Edgeworth and Gumshoe now, but at the time I thought they were kind of, you know, a neutral opinion about them. And then we had Maggie, and then we just had Portsman, the new guy, which we already knew was the killer because they immediately show us it. So none of the characters really grabbed me either. But I'm glad I did eventually come back to the game. I did regret not playing it immediately, but yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for coming by, guys. I really appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed this series as well. It's nice to be streaming an Ace Attorney game again. I do like the Ace Attorney games, but because they're mostly all reading, they are, you know, a little taxing to stream for long periods of time, especially multiple days in a row. It's been a while since I did an Ace Attorney game, but yeah, they're really good. Hey Mondo, welcome to the stream. Yeah, we're just ending, but thank you so much for taking the time to drop in. Again, if you guys want to check out other games that I played,
My YouTube channel has all my previous playthroughs, including the Great Ace Attorney 1 and 2, and this episode will go up there tomorrow as well if you want to go back and check it and you don't want to check the Twitch VOD. Oh yeah, so recently I've been playing Emio, the Smiling Man demo, and I was talking about how that game is a murder mystery, but it's a little slower paced, because it feels like you play for like a couple hours and barely anything happens, or you have a conversation with someone and it feels like, you know, you get like tiny scraps of information that you probably could have figured out yourself after talking to them for like 40 minutes at a time. So it feels a lot slower pace. And compared to this game, where every conversation, even like the side conversations that have flavor text, are so rife with either information or a little bit of humor or a little bit of character personality that it actually makes it fun to read, right? Just compare the writing in this game compared to Emio. And I know maybe it's not a fair comparison because they're going for different things. Emio has a different purpose behind it, but I just kind of want to leave that. And, you know, here we actually have little like cliffhangers, right? We want to know, well, who was the visitor? What did they want to do with the file? What about the Yatagarasu? Like, there's actually stuff to cling on to that makes you want to keep playing, as opposed to Emio, where at the end of every chapter, there isn't really anything that makes you excited for the next chapter. Anyways, that's just my 2 cents. Let's find someone to raid at this hour. Of course, stream was shorter today, which is nice. Oh, perfect! Na Insu is streaming. Our friend Chris, he's doing some art. He doesn't stream that often, so this is a great chance to come see him. And he's an amazing artist. You gotta check him out. He did official artwork for Guilty Gear. He drew the art for their vinyl cover, which is awesome. You gotta check it out. Okay, let's go say hi to our friend Chris. I'll see you guys tomorrow for Turnabout Airlines. Take care, guys. Bye, Froggy friends.